Chapter 413, Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, Second Rank Alchemy. He indicated that he would probably be busy for a while. No worries, Lu Lang, go ahead, important matters come first. Xiao Xia didn't throw a fit. She knew that, over the past few years, Lu Changxing had already spent a lot of time on her. The second-grade Talisman Master Ceremony was related to presenting Lu Changsheng's skills to the outside world, and that certainly counted as important business. Okay, I'll come back as soon as I'm done, Lu Changxing nodded. Then he visited Lu Miaoge and his son Lu Xianji before returning to Qingzhou Mountain. Back home, Lu Changxing chatted briefly with his wives and children, had a meal, and then headed out to discuss the details of the ceremony with Lu Miaochang. He also planned to ask for more materials for second-rank talisman making, to be used in assembling a talisman formation. Dad, I have to tell you, I found a treasure. At that moment, his son Lu Qingshan came trotting over to Lu Changsheng's side, speaking mysteriously. A treasure? What kind of treasure? Lu Changsheng, seeing how secretive his son was acting, arched an eyebrow and asked with a smile. Hee, let me show you. Lu Qingshan grinned, pulling out a golden bean the size of a chicken egg from inside his clothes. This golden bean even had a tiny sprout growing from it. The sprout was green and tender, with a few jade-like leaves on it. How did you dig up the golden bean from my yard? Lu Changxing stared at the bean in his son's hand, taken aback, and spoke out. This golden bean was, in fact, the golden armor bean mother he had planted in his own yard. Dad, you planted this treasure? When Lu Qingshan heard this, he also froze, and with a guilty conscience, stammered out his response. He had thought the golden bean was a chance treasure he had found. He never expected it to be something his own father had planted. What else? If you're going to find treasures, you should go out and look for them, not dig up treasures from your own yard, Lu Changxing said irritably, giving his son's head a tap. The golden armor bean mother was just fine growing in his yard, and here his son had dug it up thinking it was a treasure. It was both exasperating and amusing. How did you find this bean? Lu Changxing asked. Nobody other than Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhenzhen, and a few others would go into the yard. The kids usually didn't play there either. Plus, this golden armor bean mother was planted in a corner of the yard, concealed by spiritual earth. I asked Xiao Jin to find treasures, and then he found this golden bean. When I saw this golden bean, I felt an inexplicable closeness to it. I thought it was the destined treasure you read about in books. Lu Qingshan held his head with both hands, looking somewhat aggrieved. He was saddened that the opportunity he thought he had was now gone. He had been so elated earlier today. Now that elation was for nothing. Xiao Jin. Lu Changxing naturally knew that Xiao Jin was the earth spirit mouse he had given to Lu Qingzhu. Lu Qingzhu, keeping this earth spirit mouse, usually just played and cuddled with it. And since Lu Qingshan heard that this creature could find treasures, he probably got it to search for treasures. Resulting in a search that led to his own yard. After figuring out what had happened, Lu Changxing was somewhat speechless. But hearing that Lu Qingshan felt close to the bean, he couldn't help but ask, Qingshan, you said you felt close to this golden bean? Yeah, so when I first saw this golden bean, I felt inexplicably drawn to it. I thought my lucky break had come, Lu Qingshan replied listlessly. Close to it? Could it be because of the Gingjin body constitution? Lu Changxing pondered upon hearing this. The golden armor bean mother could transform into a golden armor warrior. This golden armor warrior was of the metal element, so it made sense for it to attract someone with a Gingjin body constitution. He held the golden armor bean mother in his hand, focusing on it intently. Indeed, he could faintly sense a closeness. But since he had won the golden armor bean mother from the system, it was already connected to him. So he hadn't noticed the subtle attraction caused by the Gingjin body constitution. This golden bean was planted by Dad in our yard. After planting, it can blossom and bear spiritual beans. Look, this is the bean sprout, and these are the bean's leaves. In a few more years, the bean will flower and bear fruit. After the beans bear fruit, Dad will give you one, Lu Changxing said aloud. He didn't blame his son. Dad, how many little beans can this golden bean produce at one time? Lu Qingshan immediately perked up upon hearing this and asked curiously. It can produce 5 to 10, but the actual number will depend on how it's nurtured, like your habit of digging it up, that will affect the number of beans it can bear later on. Lu Changxing threw a glance at his son and remarked. Although it was nourished by the tricolored soil, looking at the bean right now, he estimated that it could probably yield only 7 or 8 beans. Getting a full 10 would be tough. Then, Dad, give me 2 extra beans, right? I'll give one to Sister Qingzhu when the time comes. Lu Qingshan immediately chimed in with a laugh. Willing to share the good stuff, huh? Alright, I'll give you 2 extra, and I'll give one to Qingsong too, Lu Changxing replied with a chuckle. Lu Qingsong was Lu Miaohuan's second son, Lu Qingshan's younger brother. Dad, when will this golden bean bear fruit? Lu Qingshan continued to inquire. By the time you're nearly grown up, this golden bean should be able to bear fruit, Lu Changxing answered. Dad, I'm 7 years old, I'm an adult now. Lu Qingshan puffed out his chest proudly and exclaimed. By the time you're 15, this bean should be able to bear fruit. Lu Changxing looked at his son, who was only about 1 meter tall, and chuckled. The golden armor bean mother takes 3 years to germinate, 3 years to grow leaves, 3 years to flower, and 3 years to produce fruit. But with the nourishment of the tricolored soil, this growth rate was significantly accelerated. Chapter 414, Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, Second Rank Alchemy. _4. Now, after 3.5 years, the leaves have already grown tender and dewy. Therefore, Lu Changxing estimated that in another 6 or 7 years, the golden armor bean mother could possibly bear beans. That long, huh? Lu Qingshan's spirits deflated immediately upon hearing this. Not long at all. You can water the beans every day. Maybe that will help them grow faster. Thinking of the affinity between the Gingjin body constitution and the beans, Lu Changxing said so. As the Gingjin body constitution resonated somewhat with the golden armor bean mother, regular contact might aid in its growth. Just like some spiritual plant masters use certain techniques to improve the growth of spirit plants. Dad, no problem, but what's the benefit for me? Lu Qingshan showed a pleasing look. Benefits? Lu Changxing looked at his son's youthful face and smiled. This golden bean should yield about 8 beans. When the time comes, I'll give you 3. If you take good care of them and they yield more than 8 beans, all the extra ones will be yours. How about that? Deal. Lu Qingshan agreed immediately with a nod. He even added, Dad, you can't go back on your word and cheat a kid later. Aren't you an adult now? How did you become a child again? Lu Changxing chuckled. In front of you, Dad, I'll always be a child. Lu Qingshan said with a giggle. Hee, Dad always keeps his word, never deceiving anyone. Come on, let's replant this golden bean. Lu Changxing brought his son back to their courtyard. He shook his head at the exposed little pit and planted the golden armor bean mother into it. This soil even glows, how can you not realize it's a treasure? Lu Changxing, looking at the exposed 3-color soil, asked his son. Is this soil also a treasure? At the time, Xiao Jin said there was a treasure here, and I thought the treasure was just this bean. I didn't pay much attention to anything else. Lu Qingshan scratched his head as he reacted. Look at you, can't even recognize all the treasures, and yet you're out treasure hunting. Study more diligently in the future, and recognize all the treasures. That way, you won't miss any opportunities when you go out. Lu Changxing advised his son. The school at Qingzhou Mountain not only had great scholars teaching reading and writing. There were also cultivators teaching cultivation trials and knowledge of the cultivation world. After detecting a spiritual root, the age from 6 to 12 was all about learning. That's why family and Immortal sect children often knew more and had broader knowledge than loose cultivators. You're right, Dad. I will definitely listen to you and study hard. Lu Qingshan nodded earnestly, the picture of someone eagerly taking in lessons. Lu Changxing chuckled softly as he watched his son. He knew his son's character well. This was just him going along with what he said. Lu Changxing didn't mind. After all, he was currently only good at nurturing people. Teaching them was another matter. He couldn't guarantee that he could teach the child well. So as long as the child didn't grow up twisted, he let other matters take their own course. His philosophy was to let nature take its course, and to govern by doing nothing that goes against nature. After replanting the golden armor bean mother, Lu Changxing took Lu Qingshan to see Lu Miaoyun. He asked her to take Lu Qingshan to water the beans with spiritual water and spiritual liquid regularly. Lu Miaoyun learned that Lu Qingshan had dug up the beans to play with and couldn't help but laugh and cry. Although she had been tasked with looking after the golden armor bean mother, she didn't water it with spiritual liquid every day. She watered it only every few days. So she didn't notice that Lu Qingshan had dug it up for play. However, this incident made her more alert and she planned to watch over it every day, lest the child played with it again and lost it, which would be bad. After dealing with this minor episode, Lu Changxing went to the Qingzhou Hall to find the family head, Lu Miaochang. He reported that he was ready in terms of talisman making and if the family wanted to hold a ceremony, he was available at any time. Lu Miaochang, upon hearing this, said he would arrange it right away, and that it would likely take place in 2 months. He also inquired about Lu Changsheng's proficiency with second-rank talismans. When he heard that Lu Changsheng's proficiency with the second-rank Thunder Fire talismans was at 60 to 70%, and he had even made a start on several other second-rank spirit talismans, he was both surprised and delighted. Learning that Lu Changxing needed second-rank talisman materials, Lu Miaochang immediately allocated nearly 100 sets of second-rank talisman materials from the storeroom to Lu Changxing. He mentioned that if Lu Changxing needed more in the future, the family would reserve more second-rank talisman materials for him. Chapter 4:15, Master Lu, I fell in love with you at first sight. _1. Lu Changsheng's promotion to a second-grade talisman master and the upcoming ceremony celebrating this feat spread rapidly through the entirety of Qingzhou Mountain like a storm. Previously, as Lu Changxing had requested time to prepare, the news was only known to a select few senior members of the Lu family and had not been widely disseminated. Now, with the announcement within the Lu family, it instantly caused a flurry of joy and excitement. A second-grade talisman master, Elder Ninth, has actually been promoted to a second-grade talisman master. Although I've always heard about Uncle Changsheng's extraordinary talent in the talisman path, I didn't expect him to be promoted to a second-grade talisman master so soon. Reaching the status of a second-grade talisman master at such a young age, he truly has boundless prospects in the art of talismans. Our young lady is also a top-level first-grade talisman master. Perhaps she will also be promoted to a second-grade talisman master in the future. Now our Lu family has a second-grade talisman master as its pillar. Alas, I used to think that with Lu Changxing having a 9th-grade spiritual root and his constant indulgence in pleasures of the flesh, even with his unusual talent for the talisman path, he wouldn't get very far, but now he's become a second-grade talisman master. Ever since I broke through to the energy refinement late stage, I've somewhat neglected my cultivation, lost in drink and pleasure. Compared to Lu Changxing, what right do I have to fall into depravity? From today onwards, I swear off alcohol and will enter seclusion. A second-grade talisman master, why didn't I choose Lu Changxing during the welcome feast back then? Had I known this would happen, even if it meant becoming a concubine to Lu Changxing, I would have been willing. Inside Qingzhou Mountain, people who learned of this news felt either joy or emotion. Overall, there was an atmosphere of happiness. After all, for the Lu family, this was great news. The overall situation of the Lu family was flourishing. They had not only annihilated their sworn enemy, the Qin family of Red Leaf Valley, but also gained control of 40% of the Red Leaf Valley market. With Lu Yuanzhong in the prime of his life at the helm, the family was worry-free for a century. Now with Lu Changxing as a second-grade talisman master, it was natural for everyone to be overjoyed. Congratulations to my husband on being promoted to a second-grade talisman master. Congratulations, father, on being promoted to a second-grade talisman master. Congratulations, daddy, on being promoted to a second-grade talisman master. At Lu Changsheng's home, all of his wives, concubines, maids, and children also came forward to offer their congratulations. Since the news had not been revealed earlier, Lu Changsheng had asked Lu Miaoyun to not mention it at home for the time being. Now that the news was announced, it naturally brought surprise and joy to his wives and children. After all, they all knew that their living standards depended on Lu Changsheng. The higher Lu Changsheng's standing and identity became, the more they could rise with the tide. Meanwhile, invitations were being sent out from Qingzhou Mountain to the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake, the Jing family of Wugong Ridge, and the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain, as well as to foundation establishment families that had interactions with the Lu family of Qingzhou Mountain, neighboring small energy refining families, and business associates. Lu Changsheng also sent an invitation to his good friend Hong Yi. It wasn't for the purpose of gifts. Such a celebration wasn't about profiting. It was mainly for the sake of reputation. After all, the highest level of cultivators attending such a celebration would be at foundation establishment, with most being energy refining cultivators, unable to present any precious gifts. The entire celebration was likely to run at a loss. Unless it was a core formation ceremony, then the major foundation establishment powers might be willing to present substantial gifts. Thus, inviting Hong Yi was purely because of friendship. It was an opportunity for Hong Yi to expand his network through this celebration. At the Yu family of Bai Lake Mountain. A second-grade talisman master celebration. I didn't expect this Lu Changsheng to have been promoted to a second-grade talisman master so soon. The patriarch of the Yu family looked at the invitation in his hand, his expression becoming pensive. As one of the several large families neighboring Qingzhou Mountain, they were naturally well aware of the situations of the families around them. Lu Changsheng had long been on the watch list of these families. Otherwise, the Yu family wouldn't have tried to recruit Lu Changsheng by sending Yuning Yuan to dig at him and ordering an attack on him and Lu Miaoge. But he never expected that Lu Changsheng would be promoted to a second-grade talisman master so quickly. After all, talent is just talent. Who knows how many so-called geniuses were unable to take the next step after reaching the pinnacle of the first rank. However, this Lu Changsheng only has a 9th-grade spiritual root. Even with his extraordinary talent in the talisman path and ascending to 2nd grade, cultivation level is the foundation. Without the strength of cultivation level, he will find it difficult to make progress in the talisman path now. What's more intriguing is the mysterious foundation establishment female cultivator backing Lu Changsheng. She has never shown herself for many years now. I wonder if they are still in contact. The patriarch of the Yu family murmured to himself. A second-grade talisman master was certainly worthy of attention. But a foundation establishment great cultivator was even more fearsome. The reason their Yu family had not pressed aggressively against the Lu family in the Red Leaf Valley market over the years, instead opting for a soft approach, was also because of Meng Xiaocan's influence. Unsure about the status of this mysterious foundation establishment great cultivator, he felt apprehensive. Huff. He exhaled lightly and put away the invitation, deciding to report this news to the family elder. At the Bai family of Hundred Birds Lake. A second-grade talisman master. I remember this Lu Changsheng being quite infatuated with pleasures of the flesh and fathering children. Currently, he has around 20 to 30 wives and concubines, with over 100 offspring. The Bai family head thought of the information he knew about Lu Changsheng. If a daughter of my Bai family were to marry Lu Changsheng and bear him children, perhaps we could form a connection with this talisman master. But Lu Changsheng is a son-in-law of the Lu family, so if we wish to offer a bride, it might be a bit tricky. He tapped his fingers lightly on the desk, his face showing contemplation. Status is but a cloud. Lu Changsheng is a man who deeply values loyalty and cherishes his offspring, allocating most resources to nurture them. As long as a daughter of my Bai family can bear him several talented children, what worries would there be for my Bai family's future? The Bai family head pondered, thinking of his family elder's current situation, and promptly made a decision. He then ordered the butler waiting outside, "Ask Fei Fei to come see me." Similar thoughts were shared by the Jing family and several other small families or powers in the vicinity. Chapter 416, Master Lu, the young lady has fallen for you at first sight. After all, most cultivators do not spend too much time on starting families. Even if they take concubines, it's mostly for dual cultivation, enjoyment, or even for replenishment. Few ever have offspring. Without offspring, the effect of giving away daughters is naturally quite limited and not very significant. Someone like Lu Changxing, who marries and takes concubines, prolifically begets children, and values love and loyalty, naturally sparks thoughts in others who wish to forge connections through such means. During the days of the Lu family's preparation for the celebration, Lu Changxing was at home with his wives, concubines, and children, serenely crafting talismans. He was ready to turn all 100 sets of second-grade talisman-making materials obtained from the Lu family into talismans. With the profound origin bead and divine sense of foundation establishment late stage, I can even try drawing third-rank talismans, Lu Changxing thought to himself after finishing a number of talismans in the talisman room. Feeling that with his current mana and divine sense, he could attempt to draw third-rank talismans. He had not considered drawing third-rank talismans before due to the lack of talisman materials as well as the absence of a third-rank talisman inheritance. Now with the 99 mystical talisman scripture, there will never be a worry about inheritance. The scripture contains 126,600 variations of talismans derived from 81 types of spiritual patterns, covering everything from basic talismans to 5th-rank talismans. However, to draw third-rank talismans, I will also need third-rank talisman-making materials and a third-rank talisman brush. These can only be purchased in the Immortal City, Lu Changxing muttered, letting out a breath and storing away the talismans before leaving the study. With his current mana and divine sense, he could continuously draw talismans for an entire day without feeling tired. But while at home, he still took time out to accompany his wives, concubines, and children to foster their relationships. "Husband, you have a letter." On seeing Lu Changxing, Lu Miaoyan handed over a letter, speaking out. "A letter for me?" Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised on hearing this. He used to correspond with Hong Yi quite often. But since he went to Rui Prefecture every few months, he didn't exchange letters that much anymore. A letter from Feiyu? Lu Changxing was a bit surprised upon seeing the sender. Li Feiyu, who had returned once 3 or 4 years ago and didn't find him, then proceeded to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, had been out of touch ever since. This was the first time he had written a letter to him. Lu Changxing broke the seal on the letter and checked the contents. There wasn't much said in the letter. It was just a simple greeting, with Li Feiyu sharing some observations and experiences from Azure Phoenix Immortal City, and then mentioning his breakthrough to 6th level energy refinement, now settled in Azure Phoenix Immortal City, asking Lu Changxing not to worry. He said that in case of any matters, letters could be sent to Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Since the journey was long, he didn't expect to return anytime soon. Therefore, he hoped Lu Changxing, as his uncle, could help keep an eye on his children's well-being and arrange their marriages. It takes more than half a year to travel from Qingzhou Mountain to Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Feiyu's settling down in Azure Phoenix Immortal City and writing back now. Indeed, it has been more than 3 years, Lu Changxing thought after reading the letter and feeling relieved to know his friend was fine. But he sighed at the thought of Li Feiyu's decision to settle in Azure Phoenix Immortal City for the long term. Clearly, Li Feiyu intended to carve out an achievement in the Azure Phoenix Immortal City, perhaps even aiming for foundation establishment before returning. Although Azure Phoenix Immortal City is known as a haven for loose cultivators, full of opportunities that have launched many into soaring success, one could imagine that making a name and achieving something of significance is not so simple. Li Feiyu is currently only at 6th level energy refinement. Without a great opportunity, breaking through to 9th level energy refinement may take more than a decade, and the chances of achieving foundation establishment are even slimmer. I can also visit Azure Phoenix Immortal City if there is a chance in the future, Lu Changxing said as he put away the letter. Thinking that if he had time in the future, he could also take a trip to the Azure Phoenix Immortal City. After all, Azure Phoenix Immortal City is different from the other 2 major immortal cities, located at the border between Jiang Country and Yu Country, near the Myriad Beasts mountain range. It is a sacred place for loose cultivators. Before one knew it, 2 months had passed. Today, Qingzhou Mountain is festooned with lanterns and streamers, radiating festive cheer. The patriarch of the Yu family from Bai Lake Mountain has arrived. The Bai family head from 100 Birds Lake has arrived. The foundation establishment ancestor from Wugong Ridge Jing family has arrived. The family head from Ning family of Creek Mountain has arrived. The voices of the greeters were continuously raised, announcing each honored guest and the gifts they brought. Today is the celebration for Lu Chongqing, the 9th elder of the Lu family, for being promoted to 2nd grade talisman master. Thus, surrounding cultivation families, power groups with business relationships with the Lu family, and cultivators all have come to attend. But if one observed closely, among the arriving guests, many were accompanied by a young and beautiful woman. Royer, this talisman master Lu is only in his 30s, at the prime of his life. He may even have a chance to become a foundation establishment ancestor in the future. You must perform well later, and if he takes notice of you and takes you as a concubine, our Luo family will have made it, a middle-aged man with a weathered face advised his treasured daughter. Like him, there were quite a few cultivators instructing their daughters and juniors. After all, those who came to attend the celebration had also inquired about this talisman master beforehand, and knew that he was a rarity among cultivators. Most cultivators, in their single-minded pursuit of cultivation, do not indulge themselves in worldly pleasures and the company of women. And even if they did indulge, it's usually just with female cultivators, the objective being to relax, to enjoy, for dual cultivation or replenishment. Someone like Lu Chongqing, who takes many wives and concubines and has fathered over 100 children in just over 10 years, is truly extraordinary. Moreover, rumor has it that this talisman master is quite generous to his wives, concubines, and children. Chapter 4:17, Master Lu, the young lady has fallen for you at first sight. He had spent all his cultivation resources on his wives, concubines, and children. So, under the transmission of such news, many forces and small families began to harbor thoughts. They contemplated marrying off their daughters to forge a connection with Talisman Master Lu. After all, if their daughters or descendants could bear Talisman Master Lu's several children of exceptional talent, it would be akin to making the acquaintance of a second-grade talisman master. At the moment, Lu Chongqing was sitting on the high platform of the Great Hall with the Lu family ancestor, Lu Yuanzhong, accepting congratulations from others. Only when foundation establishment ancestors came forward did he and Lu Yuanzhong go up to greet them, exchanging pleasantries. At other times, there was no need for the two of them to welcome the guests. After all, the status of a second-grade talisman master barely qualified him to mingle with foundation establishment cultivators as equals. Or, to put it another way, foundation establishment cultivators were also willing to show a second-grade talisman master some respect. That is Lu Chongqing. I heard he started as a son-in-law taken into the Lu family. TSK, from a son-in-law to showing such astonishing talent in the talisman path, achieving such success. The Lu family really got lucky, picking up a son-in-law who turned out to have such a gift for the talisman path. I heard the man has only a lower-grade spiritual root, otherwise, with such a talent for the talisman path, breaking through to foundation establishment, I'm afraid his future would be boundless. Many looked up at Lu Chongqing on the high platform with eyes filled with envy and jealousy. After all, for many small families or minor forces cultivators, life was incredibly tough. Seeing someone like Lu Chongqing, who came from a humble background but turned his fate around with talent, they felt admiration, and at the same time, envy and resentment. Is that Master Lu? Such a handsome and unearthly man exists in this world. With such peerless looks and being a second-grade talisman master, he's truly both talented and handsome. Some of the young ladies and women, having been briefed by their families, couldn't help but be attracted from afar upon seeing Lu Chongqing. Since today was the celebration for Lu Chongqing, Lu Miaoyun and Lu Miaohuan also dressed up beautifully for him. Their hair, neatly tied with a green jade crown, looked gentle and refined. They donned wide-sleeved robes of green jade color, with a golden jade belt embroidered with golden silk at the waist. On the left side of the jade belt hung an exquisitely patterned jade pendant, and they wore celestial blue boots with cloud patterns embroidered on them. The overall look was opulent yet understated, and as they moved, the spiritual light embroidery flowed through their garments, making the already handsome Lu Changsheng even more dashing and otherworldly. If one could marry such Master Lu, it would be quite good. My sister was unwilling to come before. If she saw Master Lu, she would surely regret it. Master Lu is so handsome. He must be a very good person. Some young ladies initially resisted their family's arrangements, but upon seeing the handsome figure of Lu Changsheng, suddenly they were much less resistant. They felt that even becoming a concubine of such a Master Lu would be quite nice. The Marquis of Rui Prefecture has arrived. Following the announcer's call, a dignified man in his 50s and a middle-aged man in his 30s entered the Lu family villa. Upon seeing Lu Changsheng, they immediately offered congratulations. Congratulations to Master Lu on his success in the talisman path. Ancestor, this is Hong Yi, a secular friend of mine. Lu Changsheng introduced Hong Yi to Lu Yuanzhong with a nod toward the Marquis of Rui. Very good, since he is a friend of Changsheng, he shall henceforth be a friend of Qingzhou Mountain as well. Lu Yuanzhong smiled and nodded, showing great respect. Greetings to Lu ancestor. Rui Prefecture's Lord and Hong Yi were both flattered and surprised. After all, Foundation establishment ancestors were usually lofty figures whom they could hardly ever meet. They hadn't expected that Lu Changsheng, now a second-grade talisman master, would still give them face and even introduce them to a Foundation establishment ancestor. Their hearts throbbed with excitement and elation. Uncle Hong, Brother Hong, please take a seat. Lu Changsheng didn't stand on ceremony and invited the two to sit. Some guests, upon seeing Lu Changsheng personally receiving the Lord of Rui Prefecture and Hong Yi, were both surprised and intrigued. They couldn't help but step forward to talk and get acquainted with the Lord and Hong Yi. As time passed, more and more guests arrived. The Lu family estate was extraordinarily lively with over 100 tables for the banquet. Lu Changsheng passed the time drinking and chatting with guests, along with Lu Yuanzhong. Master Lu, this is my great-granddaughter, Jing Yongwan. She has long admired Master Lu. At this moment, the Jing family ancestor introduced a 17 or 18-year-old girl to Lu Changsheng. The girl called Jing Yongwan immediately blushed with bashfulness and shyly lowered her head. She hadn't expected her own ancestor to bring up such a matter in front of such a large public gathering. Lu Changsheng was somewhat flummoxed by the Jing family ancestor's behavior. He mused that he was just a second-grade talisman master. Was it really necessary for a Foundation establishment ancestor to personally offer him a young woman? However, he also immediately realized that the Jing family ancestor's life wasn't long for this world, and his family lacked a successor. Although they were seeking support from the Yu family, they knew the Yes support was unreliable. So, this Jing family ancestor was also placing a bet on him, or rather, on the Lu family. He glanced at the girl named Jing Yongwan. At 17 or 18, she possessed a cultivation of Qi refinement level 5. For her age and cultivation, she likely had a decent spiritual root, perhaps a middle-grade spiritual root. But specifically, without direct contact and examination, Lu Changsheng couldn't just tell. Regardless, he had no interest. After all, if he were to choose a young woman, he'd prefer someone without much of a background or entanglements. A girl like the one offered by the Jing family ancestor not only came with family ties but could even affect the relationship between the Lu and Jing families. Master Lu, this is my niece, by Fei Fei. I've heard that Master Lu lacks someone to attend to his daily needs. Fei Fei has fallen in love with Master Lu at first sight. Just then, the Bai family head, noting the Jing family ancestor's move, immediately stepped forward with a gentle and beautiful young girl and said. He had initially planned to wait until the celebration was almost over to find an opportunity to speak to Lu Changsheng about this. But he had not anticipated the Jing family ancestor, a Foundation establishment ancestor himself, to do such a thing. Thus, he didn't want to wait any longer and promptly brought his niece forward. Master Lu, my daughter also fell in love with Master Lu at first sight and wishes to serve the master. Master Lu, my niece is all alone in this world, and upon seeing Master Lu today, she has fallen in love and wishes to attend to you, pour your tea, warm your bed. Seeing this, a few others standing nearby stepped up with their accompanying young women, speaking out one after another. Chapter 418, Taking a Concubine. _1. Lu Changxing looked at the succession of men presenting their daughters with a speechless expression. He thought to himself why a simple celebration had turned into a giveaway event for daughters. Was it that all ceremonies were like this, or was it because of his own reputation that people were catering to his interests? Yet, he had been so restrained over the years. He glanced briefly at these young women. All of them had faces like blooming flowers under the moonlight. And they possessed spiritual roots, with cultivation evident in them. This made Lu Changxing surmise inwardly that this was the power of status and identity. Back then, he even had to worry about marrying a fairy with spiritual roots. He could only save money to rescue misfortunate women from the White Jade Tower. Now that he had just advanced to a second-grade talisman master, family after family, power after power, was sending over their descendants with spiritual root talents to be his concubines. Changxing, if you're interested, you can simply take them in without any hesitation, Lu Yuanzhong transmitted his voice to Lu Changxing at that moment. He of course knew about Lu Changxing's character. Knew that Lu Changxing had no great ambition for cultivation. Just wanted to have many children and a house full of descendants. So, taking in concubines was not something he minded much. Besides, people were sending daughters to Lu Changxing as a way to establish good relationships, favor with him, and his Lu family. His Lu family was also willing to engage with these people through this method to strengthen ties. Hearing these words, Lu Changxing had a moment of contemplation. Feeling that since he need not worry about the relationships with the Lu family and these families, then he could indeed take them in. For one, he had already considered the idea of taking concubines. He needed to increase revenue and cut expenses, to fill up his back courtyard. Moreover, as his cultivation strength improved, he no longer had to be as cautious and worried as before when it came to marrying wives and taking in concubines. Although these women had their own families, to him, they were also known commodities, from clear and unsullied backgrounds, not likely to bring any trouble. After all, he couldn't possibly find all his concubines from amongst orphans. Nor were there that many orphaned female cultivators for him to encounter and bring home. He could visit the White Jade Tower to buy maidservants, but in the White Jade Tower, lower-grade spiritual root maidservants cost a few hundred spirit stones, middle-grade spiritual root maidservants started at a few thousand spirit stones. Even with wealth, he couldn't sustain such expenditure. Moreover, since he was preparing to establish a family, he also needed some allies, a network of relationships. And marital alliances were the best method to establish such a network. Even if he didn't take them now, in the future, if he wanted his offspring to marry women with clear backgrounds and spiritual roots, the best method would also be to form marital alliances with other cultivation families. For the sake of the family, for the sake of the children, I as an old father can only humiliate myself, Lu Changxing sighed inwardly. Then, he cupped his hands together and said, I'm flattered by the affections of all the young ladies, but there are already many wives and concubines in the Lu household. Although he intended to take in a few girls, he couldn't just agree as soon as they asked, could he? Wouldn't that make it seem like he was too lustful and degrade his status? However, before Lu Changxing could finish speaking, someone immediately said, It is an honor for my daughter to serve Master Lu. To be a mere maidservant is enough, how can we ask for a status? This head of the Luo family is ruthless, actually not even vying for the status of a concubine for his own daughter. The others from smaller energy refining families found the Luo family head's words quite extreme when he spoke. They also harbored the thought of not competing for status, but thought to at least request the position of a concubine. They couldn't truly let their precious descendants serve others as maidservants. After all, the descendants they chose to bring, although not the seeds of their families, were still some of the better sprouts of their households. Since the Luo family head is so generous, it would be rude to decline such earnest offer. I will humbly accept, Lu Changxing, seeing the man so accommodating, also nodded his head. After speaking, he added, when there's time later, we can exchange more insights about the talisman path. Since they were sending a daughter over to be a maidservant, he also had to show some proper attitude in return. Master Lu, my daughter feels the same, Master Lu, my niece feels the same, the others also voiced out one after another. This put Elder Zheng of the Zheng family and the Bai family head in a slightly awkward position. The others were just small energy refining families, with lesser influence, willing to lower their status before Lu Changsheng, a second-rank talisman master. But their Zheng and Bai families were, after all, well-known and reputable. If an elder of the family or a family head were to humiliate themselves by offering their own direct daughters to Lu Changsheng as maidservants, it would be somewhat shameful. "I've been smitten with Miss Yongwan and Miss Feifei at first sight and willing to take them as concubines. I wonder if the two ladies would be willing?" Lu Changsheng, noticing Elder Zheng's and the Bai family head's embarrassment, volunteered. Annexing Red Leaf Valley was still included in his contingency plans. Therefore, he was also willing to foster a good relationship with the Zheng and Bai families. Moreover, judging by their appearances and cultivation levels, he believed that Zheng Yongwan and Bai Feifei were likely to have middle-grade spiritual roots. Thus, taking the two as secondary concubines would be quite suitable. Upon hearing this, both women felt a slight relief in their hearts. Both of them, after all, were direct descendants of Foundation establishment families. Although willing to marry Lu Changsheng, to become maidservants like those from smaller families was still slightly bitter to them. "I'll abide by the elder's decision, I'll abide by the head's decision." The two women did not directly respond but spoke softly with their heads bowed. "Hee, good, if that's so, then this matter is settled." Elder Zheng and the Bai family head immediately showed smiles upon seeing this, and indicated that, concubinage notwithstanding, they would still interact with Lu Changsheng as equals in the future. The other families, seeing this scene, did not say much. Knowing that the Zheng and Bai families were Foundation establishment families, not something their own families could compare with. Chapter 419, Taking a Concubine. Although Master Lu took many wives and concubines, with his current status, he was not inclined to acknowledge all of them. Nevertheless, they were content to become maidservants. After all, they still had the opportunity to bear offspring in the future. If they gave birth to excellent children, the mother might benefit from the child's status. Some of the other guests witnessing this scene couldn't help but think of suitable relatives of marriageable age within their families. They hoped to form connections with the Lu family and Master Lu through such means. Thus, after a 3-day and 3-night celebration, Lu Changsheng hosted another feast to welcome concubines. He took Zheng Yongwan and Bai Feifei as his new concubines. No objections came from Lu Changsheng's wives and other concubines about the addition of the 2 women and 5 maidservants. One reason was that they had grown accustomed to their husbands' ways. Moreover, the Lu family ancestor had given his blessing to this affair. It's been a long time since the 9th elder has taken concubines. I heard that these 2 are legitimate daughters of the Zheng and Bai families, yet now they can only be concubines. Yes, I remember Bai Feifei never married out. I didn't expect that she would end up marrying Uncle Changsheng as a concubine now. Of course, Brother Changsheng is now a second-grade talisman master. Being able to marry him is a stroke of luck. Lu Changsheng now has 30 or 40 wives, maidservants, and concubines, and now 7 more have been added. The Lu family disciples discussed Lu Changsheng's wedding, voicing their astonishment. That night, Lu Changsheng entered the bridal chamber. He skillfully lifted the red bridal veil, gazing upon the shy faces of the 2 young women before him. That year, he was 36, with 7 wives, 13 concubines, and 29 maidservants. And a fairy who had yet to be married and bear a child. For the following month, Lu Changsheng remained at home, enjoying the bliss of a newlywed night after night. Among the 2 new concubines and 5 maidservants, both Zheng Yongwan and Bai Feifei had 5th-grade spiritual roots. Among the 5 maidservants, except for a girl named Luo Roy with 6th-grade spiritual roots, the rest all had 7th-grade spiritual roots. But for Lu Changsheng, this was acceptable. After all, in such families, having a middle-grade spiritual root was already considered quite talented. That they were willing to become his concubines was already a considerable investment on their part. As new people were added to his household, the already substantial estate began to feel a bit crowded. Lu Yuanzhong was very generous and allocated a plot of land in Qingzhou Valley for Lu Changsheng so that another large estate could be built for him. She must be pregnant by now, right? After a month of effort, Lu Changsheng felt that Jing Yongwan and Bai Feifei were likely with child. He didn't linger any longer. After arranging household affairs, he set off for the Red Leaf Valley Market. He had been home for quite a long time, after all. In a few more months, Xiao Xia would be returning to Qingyun sect, and he wanted to accompany her. Upon arriving at the Red Leaf Valley Market riding an iron feather eagle, Lu Changsheng first visited his peace talisman hall. He informed Gao He that his spiritual talisman shop would now sell one second-rank talisman to the public every month. The number of supreme first-grade talismans was raised to 8 per month. He also instructed Gao He to help him purchase second-grade talisman-making materials on a long-term basis. Now that he had the 99 mystical talisman scripture and the method of talisman refinement formation, his need for second-grade talismans had greatly increased. He planned to carry several hundred second-grade talismans with him at all times. This way, if he encountered a nascent soul immortal, he could rely on the talisman formation to have some means of self-protection. After discussing matters with Gao He, Lu Changsheng also inquired about his son, Lu Xianzi's well-being. He took his son to the 3rd floor and taught him about the knowledge of puppets. The craft of puppet making, although not highly profitable, just earned a modest income. However, the cost of learning was also relatively low. That's because, when crafting puppets, if a mistake is made in one of the steps and it fails, only some of the materials are lost, and most can still be reused. Unlike talisman making and alchemy. Once those fail, all materials are basically wasted, burning through money rapidly. Xianji, don't just stay inside the shop every day, go out more when you have time. If you see a girl you fancy, you can also talk to your father about it. After teaching about puppets, Lu Changsheng said this to his son, Lu Xianji. His son was also 16 years old. It was time to consider marriage. Though many cultivators didn't marry for a lifetime to focus on their cultivation, or they only settled down when they were in their 40s or 50s, for someone like Lu Xianji, Lu Changsheng still hoped his son would start a family early. Dad, I understand. In his youth, Lu Xianji had been rather naughty, but as he grew older and more sensible, his personality became more stable and restrained. As long as you understand, I'm not rushing you. I'm just hoping you'll also think about this aspect, Lu Changsheng said, nodding. His child was only 16, he wasn't truly in a rush yet. Dad, rest assured, I understand, Lu Xianji said with a smile, nodding in agreement. He knew his father's wish was for a house full of descendants, so he could understand his father's thoughts. Being only a 9th grade spiritual root, his achievements in this life would be limited, so it would be better to start a family early. After giving his son a few instructions, Lu Changsheng went to the Lu family spiritual talisman shop. Lu Miaoga had also returned to Qingzhou Mountain for the celebration, so she knew about Lu Changsheng taking concubines. To this, she just advised Lu Changsheng to take good care of his health, not to indulge too much in carnal desires, as such activities could harm his body and interfere with his cultivation. In response to such remarks, Lu Changsheng demonstrated through action that his body was in excellent condition. Afterwards. After the couple shared a tender moment, Sister Miaoga, this is the talisman path inheritance I received back then. But since I hadn't been able to advance to a 2nd grade talisman master and fully understand its contents, I've been unable to sketch out the content inside. These are the spiritual patterns I can now trace. Chapter 420, Taking a Concubine. Lu Changsheng took out a jade scroll and handed it to Lu Miaoga. Inside the jade scroll was a foundational spiritual pattern from the 99 mystical talisman scripture, one of 81 spiritual patterns. But this one foundational spiritual pattern could give rise to over 300 types of runes. It contained the profundity of the talisman path that was difficult to comprehend. If Lu Miaoga could comprehend it, she would benefit greatly and make significant progress in the talisman path. Moreover, he wanted to see how long it would take for Lu Miaoga to understand and comprehend this spiritual pattern. If Lu Miaoga could fully grasp this spiritual pattern and successfully sketch it before her foundation establishment, Lu Changxing felt that he could consider teaching her the 99 mystical talisman scripture. Although Lu Miaoge had cultivated the Saturn solar sword technique. But compared to the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, this 99 mystical talisman scripture was obviously more suitable for her. A talisman path inheritance? Lu Miaoge said, somewhat surprised and astonished. She had not expected that Lu Changxing had another talisman path inheritance. But thinking of Lu Changxing's understanding of the talisman path, her heart eased slightly. That's right, my rapid progress in the talisman path is also related to this inheritance. Lu Changxing nodded and said warmly. Lu Miaoge took the jade scroll and examined the spiritual pattern on it. Looking at the spiritual pattern on the jade scroll, Lu Miaoge was stunned and immersed in it. It took her a long time to come back to her senses and said, Changxing, this spiritual pattern is incredibly profound. It appears simple, yet it's extremely complex, containing countless variations, which are profound and difficult to understand. Lu Miaoge said aloud. As a top-level talisman master, she indeed had a certain level of discernment and understanding of the talisman path. She could clearly see that this spiritual pattern included many combinations and variations. She wanted to discern these variations, but the more she looked, the more she realized how profound and mysterious the pattern was, and it eluded her. In her heart, she marveled that Lu Changxing was able to sketch such a complex and profound spiritual pattern. That's right, this spiritual pattern has 365 variations, evolving into 365 types of runes. Lu Changxing smiled and began to slowly explain the various changes and the mysteries within this spiritual pattern. Listening to Lu Changxing's warm voice explaining the profound truths of the talisman path, Lu Miaoge became deeply engrossed. After Lu Changxing finished explaining, Lu Miaoge looked at his exceptionally handsome profile and became slightly entranced. She recalled the moments from when she first met Lu Changxing until now. From the initial impression of not bad, to a person not bad. To the exasperation of his indulgence in the company of women. Then seeing his rapid progress on the talisman path, leading to an air of mystery. Not only did he save her from a life-threatening situation, but he also provided the 3 Suns elixir, an exquisite level cultivation method, and a rare treasure such as the treasure-seeking mouse. Now, he was imparting such a talisman path inheritance, teaching her the profound truths of the talisman path. Being able to comprehend and understand this spiritual pattern so thoroughly made her feel that Lu Changxing was definitely not as simple as just advancing to second-grade talisman master. What's wrong, suddenly looking at me like that? Lu Changxing, seeing Lu Miaoge's beautiful eyes brimming with admiration, couldn't help but smile and ask. I just feel that you have become more and more impressive, Changxing. Lu Miaoge said with a lovely smile in a soft voice. Sister Miaoge, I have some secrets and fortunes. But don't worry, I will tell you all about these secrets and fortunes in the future. Lu Changxing knew that explaining the spiritual pattern had caused Lu Miaoge to be puzzled and skeptical. Which was normal. Even just a basic spiritual pattern from the 99 mystical talisman scripture was extremely profound. Not something that someone who had just advanced to second-grade talisman master could fully comprehend. I know. Changxing, if there's something weighing on your heart, you can always talk to me about it. Lu Miaoge's eyes were moist and her demeanor gentle as water, as she spoke softly. Adding, we are husband and wife. Sister Miaoge. Hearing this, Lu Changxing's heart warmed. The strength, treasures, and secrets brought by the system, which he had always kept hidden in his heart for fear that revealing them would cause trouble, were indeed tiring. But fortunately, he had his wives to ensure he had no other worries in his daily life. Looking at his wife in front of him, he embraced her graceful and delicate body and kissed her deeply on the lips. Changxing, Lu Miaoge hadn't expected that after just having been intimate, Lu Changxing would want her again. Combining the transmission of Tao and pleasure, it might actually help with understanding spiritual patterns, he whispered into her ear, his breath hot. Faced with Lu Changxing's instruction, Lu Miaoge could only half close her eyes languidly, gently biting her lip, and listen intently. But because the teachings were so profound, she also felt the strain of learning, her body covered in fragrant sweat. After a while, as the transmission of knowledge and essence concluded, she, too, reciprocated passionately, contemplating the principles within. The next day, Lu Changxing visited the courtyard where Xiao Xia was staying. Inside the courtyard, Xiao Xia, dressed in a moon-white gown, looked as graceful as ever, showing no signs of having just given birth. She watched serenely over the cradle where Lu Wangshu was sleeping soundly. "Changxing, you're finished with your tasks," Xiao Xia said with a smile when she saw Lu Changxing, speaking in a gentle voice. "Shiyu." Seeing this scene, Lu Changxing felt somewhat ashamed of his recent conduct. He felt that he truly hadn't fulfilled his responsibilities. Sitting down beside her, he watched the child and chatted with Xiao Xia. "Shiyu, do you know what a blood talisman's spiritual body is?" he asked after a moment, thinking of his daughter's spiritual body. In this period, he had looked through several ancient books about spiritual bodies. However, he hadn't found any information about the blood talisman's spiritual body. He knew that this superior spiritual body was probably rare. So he asked Xiao Xia. After all, it concerned the awakening of his own spiritual body and his daughter's future awakening. Blood talisman's spiritual body? Xiao Xia, on hearing this, shook her head slightly. She had never heard of this spiritual body either. "I don't know much about spiritual bodies either," she said. "If you need it, Changxing, I will look for information about it when I return to Qingyun's sect," she offered. "I saw a brief description of this spiritual body in an ancient book and suspect that I might possess it," Lu Changxing explained. "So I would appreciate it, Shiyu, if you could help me find more information about it." He didn't say that he had noticed the child had a spiritual body. After all, it would be somewhat exaggerated to determine that his newborn child possessed a certain spiritual body. As for his daughter inheriting this spiritual body in the future, the explanation was simple. His daughter inherited his excellent spiritual body, which was perfectly normal. Although the chance of passing on a spiritual body is extremely slim. But sometimes, things just happen to coincide. "Blood talisman's spiritual body, alright," agreed Xiao Xia. Learning that Lu Changxing might possess this spiritual body, she immediately took the matter more seriously. She planned to check the Sutra Pavilion upon her return to the sect, and if there was no information there, she would ask her master. She also told Lu Changxing that she planned to return to Qingyun's sect after 3 more months, although she would come down the mountain whenever she had the time. If Lu Changxing had anything he needed, he could write to her. Hearing this, Lu Changxing didn't try to persuade her otherwise. After all, Xiao Xia had already mentioned that she would be leaving at this time. As a disciple of the Immortal sects, given tasks and a territory to defend, she couldn't possibly stay outside for long. Chapter 421, Xiao Xia leaves, awakening the blood talisman's spiritual body. _1. In the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. During this period, both of the concubines newly taken by Lu Changxing, Jing Yongwan and by Feifei, succeeded in becoming pregnant. As for the 5 maids, only Luo Rui was pregnant for the time being. This was also why Lu Changxing spent most of his time at the Red Leaf Valley Market. At home, he only gave minimal care. However, this efficiency had already astonished the Jing family, Bai family, and Luo family to no end. They thought to themselves that Master Lu truly enjoyed having children. It had only been 2 or 3 months, and they were already pregnant. Especially the Luo family head. He had thought that since his daughter was a maid, it would take a lot of effort to win Master Lu's favor. He never expected that she would become pregnant so quickly. He was truly pleasantly surprised. Immediately, all 3 families sent tonics to their respective daughters to ensure they were well nourished during pregnancy. After all, they had sent their daughters to Lu Changxing to be concubines and maids, hoping they would bear offspring to deepen the ties between their families. Now that they were pregnant, they naturally hoped the children would have spiritual roots and excellent talents to gain Lu Changxing's attention. On this day, Xiao Xia was also preparing to return to Qingyun's sect. She carried her daughter and walked out of the Red Leaf Valley Market with Lu Changxing. Changxing, as she looked at Lu Changxing and her daughter in his arms, her heart was filled with reluctance. She even had the thought of giving up going back to the sect, just so she could stay by Lu Changsheng and their child's side. The separation now is only for a better reunion later, Lu Changsheng looked at Xiao Siya and said gently. He also felt somewhat reluctant. But he still supported Xiao Siya's decision to return to the sect for cultivation. During this time, because of the child, Xiao Siya had become somewhat indifferent to cultivation. Wang Shu still can't call me mother. When I come back, will she have forgotten about me? The once Guanghan fairy, akin to the 9 heavens bright moon, had now descended to the mortal realm, entangled in worldly affections, becoming as sentimental and affectionate as most mothers. If you miss her, write to me, and I will bring Wang Shu to Qingyun's sect to see you, Lu Changsheng consoled Xiao Siya's emotions. No, it's dangerous to travel from here to Qingyun's sect. What if we encounter danger on the way? Xiao Siya immediately shook her head. Though having Lu Changsheng as a father meant they usually wouldn't face any danger, the child was still small, and she didn't want her daughter to suffer the hardship of travel. She then handed her daughter over to Lu Changsheng. She asked him to take good care of their daughter. Don't worry, this is our daughter, I will naturally take care of her, Lu Changsheng said affectionately while holding his daughter, his tone undeniably firm. Xiao Siya looked at her daughter for a while longer, then with her robes fluttering, she rode a crane and flew away. Watching Xiao Siya's figure gradually disappearing into the horizon, Lu Changsheng couldn't help feeling a bit empty. After all, the two of them had spent so many years together. Now that they were separating, he didn't know how long it would be before they saw each other again. Sigh, Lu Changsheng looked at the child in his arms and let out a gentle sigh. Then he took a deep breath, exhaled softly, and after returning to the courtyard to tidy up a little, he resumed his true appearance and went to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Changsheng, this is? Lu Miaoge was somewhat surprised and curious as she saw Lu Changsheng holding an infant. After all, normally, Lu Changsheng hardly ever took such a young child out with him. This is the child of Xiao Siya and me, Lu Changsheng spoke up, stating directly. Fairy Xiao's child. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge was somewhat shocked. She knew her husband had been assisting Xiao Siya in her cultivation. She had also guessed that her husband's relationship with this fairy was more than ordinary. But she never thought that while assisting in cultivation, they would have a child together. It was truly astonishing. Previously, Lu Changsheng had told her about Xiao Siya's situation. She had already conquered foundation establishment, was a core disciple of Qingyun sect. But now, a foundation establishment female cultivator, a core disciple of Qingyun sect, had borne a child for her husband. This left Lu Miaoge uncertain whether to praise her husband's charm or to say something else. Where is Fairy Xiao? Lu Miaoge looked outside and inquired. She has been away for a long time, she has gone back to Qingyun sect, Lu Changsheng replied. Changsheng, upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge's lips pressed together gently. Thinking that Xiao Siya's farewell had saddened Lu Changsheng, she stepped forward to gently embrace her husband. Fine, it's just a temporary parting, Lu Changsheng replied with a smile, indicating that he was all right. Such a cute child, what is her name? Seeing Lu Changsheng was fine, Lu Miaoge then turned her attention to the baby, smiling tenderly and softly asking. Wang Shu, Lu Changsheng handed the child to Lu Miaoge. He had brought the child over, hoping that Lu Miaoge would take care of her when she had time. Lu Miaoge held the child, her face full of tenderness, recalling her own daughter, Lu Qingzhu. Changsheng, you should have brought Fairy Xiao and the child over together, Lu Miaoge cooed to the child, her voice soft. Fairy Xiao must be worried about the child, returning to Qingyun sect alone. If she had come together with us, we could have talked to her, got to know each other a little, and she would feel more at ease about the child, Lu Miaoge continued to speak in her gentle way. You never brought it up before, and I didn't realize it either, Lu Changsheng, having heard this, felt it was indeed the case. Even though he was the father, he knew he wouldn't have time to take care of the child all the time, and it was certain that he would have to leave the child in the care of his wives and concubines. And among his wives and concubines, Xiao Siya had only met Lu Miaoge. Just brief encounters, without much understanding. No doubt she felt less at ease. How could you let Fairy Xiao take the initiative to speak up about such a matter? Chapter 422, Xiao Xie leaves, awakening the blood talisman spiritual body. Next time Fairy Xiao comes, Changxing, you can let me meet her and have a chat with her. After all, Fairy Xiao is willing to have a child with you, she must be accepting you in her heart, Lu Miaoge said softly to her husband. She knew that even though her husband had many wives and concubines, he still didn't fully understand women's thoughts. Wife, you are right, Lu Changxing nodded. Xiao Xie had a child with him, only lacking in official status. Sooner or later, she would have to meet and get to know his other wives and concubines. Now it was a good time to use the child as a bridge for communication. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. Because he was preparing to visit Zhouxiao Immortal City, Lu Changxing spent most of his time making talismans. Preparing for his talisman formation. But while making talismans was important, he did not neglect his duties. He worked diligently every day and all 4 remaining maids became pregnant. The total number of his offspring reached 153. Husband, you've received a letter. One day, Lu Miaoyun handed a letter to Lu Changxing. A letter for me? Lu Changxing took the letter. It was from Xiao Xie. There were prohibitions on the letter. If forced open, the letter would self-destruct. Lu Changxing broke the prohibition and read the contents. In the letter, Xiao Xie wrote that everything was well with her. Currently, she was being assigned a mission by her sect and was preparing to go to the Green River Marketplace as the record chief, so she wouldn't be able to come for a short period. Being a record chief was a training treatment only given to core disciples of a sect. It would broaden her horizons and help her understand the cultivation world. There was hardly any danger. The first few pages of the letter were filled with mundane daily affairs and the longing for her daughter, Lu Wangshu. At the end of the letter, Xiao Xie wrote that she had found information about the blood talisman spiritual body and the green jade Luan bird in her sect. The blood talisman spiritual body is a latent type of talisman path physique. Naturally compatible with the great Tao of talismans. This physique allows cultivators who have it to be exceptionally talented and make rapid progress on the path of talisman crafting. In addition, the blood talisman spiritual body can use one's own spiritual blood to enhance the success rate of talisman making. Furthermore, one can burn their spiritual blood and lifespan to feed a talisman and improve the grade of a talisman by a large margin. However, both methods resulted in substantial self-harm. Just as I had guessed, this blood talisman spiritual body is a type of talisman path physique. Use spiritual blood to improve talisman making success rate, burn lifespan and spiritual blood to improve a talisman's grade, Lu Changxing muttered to himself as he read the information about the blood talisman spiritual body. The letter also mentioned how to awaken the blood talisman spiritual body. One method would be through some kind of blood sacrifice ritual to awaken the spiritual body, but Xiao Xie did not provide details about this ritual. The other method would be through the blood refinement method, using second-rank spiritual blood to continuously stimulate the body and thus activate the spiritual body. This method required that the spiritual blood must have a mild attribute. Otherwise, during the stimulation process, it could cause significant self-injury. Blood sacrifice ritual, blood refinement method, this blood talisman spiritual body, both its effects and awakening methods are, as the name implies, related to blood, Lu Changxing said with a sigh as he read about the blood talisman spiritual body and its awakening methods in the letter. The second method, the blood refinement method, was explained by Xiao Xie in the letter, which seemed quite straightforward to Lu Changxing. He planned to purchase some second-rank spiritual blood later and use the method described in the letter to awaken his spiritual body, to see how effective this blood talisman spiritual body truly was. As for the requirement that the spiritual blood must be mild, Lu Changxing ignored it entirely. He practiced the 100 refinements treasure body art, and his physical body was as tough as a superior magic artifact. He was not the least bit worried that such stimulation would cause him any harm. As for the information about the green jade Luan bird in the letter, it was about incubation and feeding. For incubation, a nest should be cast from warm jade, then, use ingredients like green jade xiong lotus, red yang snow ginseng, bile of the azure scale snake, and powder of yuan-shin crystal mixed with spirit stone powder to make a spiritual liquid, and pour it into the nest made of warm jade. Place the egg of the green jade luan bird in the nest, and then nourish it with spiritual power and mana every day, and in about 3 to 6 months, the spiritual pet egg would be incubated successfully. Incubating a spiritual pet egg really isn't easy. Seeing the incubation method, Lu Changxing couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Just these materials alone would cost him thousands of spirit stones. And the price of this green jade luan bird egg was estimated to be just a few thousand spirit stones. This is also why many people are unwilling to raise spiritual pets. Hatching, feeding, waiting for growth, not only consumes time and energy, but also financial resources. However, I remember seeing these Qingyu snow lotuses and Qiang snow ginsengs in Meng Yibai's storage bag back then. Lu Changsheng's eyebrows raised slightly. He vaguely remembered seeing these kinds of spiritual medicine and spiritual materials when he cleared out Meng Yibai's storage bag. And he hadn't dealt with these spiritual medicines and materials yet. Right away, Lu Changxing began searching for these spiritual medicines and materials in his several storage bags. A moment later, Lu Changxing found the materials needed to hatch the green jade luan bird from the storage bags. It seems that Meng Yibai had already prepared all this beforehand, only I never knew it, Lu Changxing thought to himself as he looked at these spiritual medicines and materials. He then made a nest with the sky blue warm jade in his courtyard. After that, he prepared the spiritual liquid according to the formula and placed the pet egg inside it. As for nurturing it with mana, Lu Changxing directly called over Lu Miaoyun. He asked his wife, Lu Miaoyun, to come and nurture the pet egg daily. After all, it would take 3 months to half a year of nurturing to hatch the green jade luan bird. He didn't have the leisure for that, nor would he always be at home, so it was better to leave it to his wife. Once the green jade luan bird hatched later on, he would also leave it for Lu Miaoyun to look after. "Husband, what kind of spiritual beast egg is this?" Lu Miaoyun asked curiously after listening to Lu Changsheng's instructions. The seller said it's the egg of some kind of flying demon beast. As for which specific demon beast, you'll know once it hatches, Yuner, Lu Changxing said with a smile. It was not that he intentionally kept it a secret. He simply felt there was a certain anticipation this way. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoyun did not ask further and expressed that she would take good care of the spiritual pet egg. Half a month later, Lu Changxing spent 2,400 spirit stones to buy 3 gourds of spiritual blood. This so-called second-rank spiritual blood was actually the blood of second-rank demon beasts. In Red Leaf Valley Market, as long as one didn't specify a certain type of demon beast blood, it was still possible to buy some. 3 gourds of blood should be enough. Lu Changxing looked at his 3 gourds of demon beast blood and thought to himself. He then went to his practice room, took out a large vat, and poured all the spiritual blood from 1 gourd into it. This 1 gourd of spiritual blood, naturally, was not as little as it appeared. These gourds, like storage bags, could hold several vats of liquid. 1 gourd of spiritual blood poured in, immediately filling more than half of the large vat. Gulu gulu gulu, this portion of spiritual blood came from a demon beast known as the Blazing Fire Lion. Therefore, this blood was like magma, still emitting rolling heat. Lu Changsheng's expression remained calm as he stripped off his clothes and entered the vat. Then, following the blood refinement method written by Shao Xia, he used the spiritual blood to stimulate his flesh. During this process, the demon beast blood continuously stimulated every inch of his skin and flesh, making his body seem to reveal all sorts of winding blood-colored runes. It looked mysterious and terrifying. Hum hum hum, as Lu Changxing continuously practiced the blood refinement method, the demon beast blood from the vat entered his body through his pores, traveled along his meridians to his dantian. There, the originally faint and sporadic blood veins in his dantian gradually became clearer during the process. Lu Changxing knew that once this blood vein was activated, the blood talisman's spiritual body would successfully awaken. He opened his eyes, flicked his fingers, and the 2 gourds beside him automatically opened, pouring the spiritual blood directly into the vat. This 3 different kinds of spiritual blood were already quite domineering on their own. Mixed together, they were even more exceptionally stimulating to the human body. However, as a foundation establishment cultivator who had also been cultivating the 100 refinements treasure body art, Lu Changxing naturally had no fear of this mere demon beast blood. As the spiritual blood continuously surged, stimulating the blood vein in the dantian, the blood vein became clearer and clearer, forming a mysterious rhythm. After a long while, an unusual aura spread out from within Lu Changxing. It caused the blood vein in his dantian to fully emerge, clearly visible. And at this moment, his body was covered in bizarre and mysterious blood-colored runes. But in the blink of an eye, these blood runes gradually faded and disappeared from view. So this is the blood talisman spiritual body. Lu Changxing opened his eyes, aware that he had successfully awakened the blood talisman spiritual body. Chapter 423, Effects of the Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, 10,000 Poisons Devour the Heart _1. The blood talisman spiritual body, how profoundly mysterious. It seems as though one is born with numerous insights into the talisman path. By continually learning and delving into the talisman path, one can integrate and have interrelated understandings, illuminating many difficult problems in talisman arts. Lu Changxing quietly experienced the changes brought by the blood talisman spiritual body. When this spiritual body was activated, strands of blood patterns in his dantian gradually surfaced, eventually merging into his blood and bones. Almost instantly, many experiences and insights about talisman arts flooded his mind. These insights were enigmatic, indescribable and inexplicable. But as a second-tier top-level talisman master, and the inheritor of the teachings of the 99 mystical talisman scripture, Lu Changxing clearly knew that these were insights into the talisman path. This type of insight was not like the skills acquired from a system lottery, which directly poured knowledge and experience of talisman arts into the mind as if enlightening with a sacred teaching. Instead, it transformed into a kind of innate talent, allowing one to study the talisman path and gradually understand and assimilate, thereby making rapid advancements in the field. The abilities of the blood talisman spiritual body written about by Xiao Xia in her letter previously, by burning essence blood, it increases the success rate of talisman making. The method of burning the lifespan to raise the grade of talismans was also within these insights, and it manifested as an innate ability. However, the cost of this ability was steep. For example, creating a second-rank talisman required half an hour, which meant burning half an hour of essence blood. Once the talisman was created, surely the essence blood would be depleted, taking at least 3 to 4 months to recover. As for burning lifespan to increase the grade of talismans, it also depended on one's cultivation level. For instance, a Qi refinement cultivator aiming to elevate a first-grade talisman to second rank might have to expend more than a decade or 2 of their lifespan. If one tried to upgrade a second-rank talisman to third rank, it could mean the end of all their essence blood and lifespan. Moreover, even after depleting one's essence blood and life, success in upgrading the talisman's grade was still not guaranteed. One could only say that the ability of the blood talisman's spiritual body was fierce, but it was not against the natural order. This ability of the blood talisman's spiritual body seems quite suitable to be used as a tool for talisman making. Not only is the talismanic talent exceptional, advancing rapidly, but in critical moments, one can nourish talismans with blood to enhance their grade. If an ordinary loose cultivator awakened this blood talisman's spiritual body, it might even unwittingly attract misfortune. As Lu Changxing experienced the abilities of the blood talisman's spiritual body, he thought to himself, "Talent is rare. But not all talents are valued and treasured." Like Bai Ling, she possessed a talent not inferior to a top-grade spiritual root. If she hadn't been picked up by chance, she might have perished at the hands of bandits. Such cases are far from uncommon in the cultivation world. Many people who gain a talent first think of maximizing benefits rather than nurturing it. After all, nurturing a person not only requires a huge investment in resources but also consideration of loyalty, among other factors. So at the end of the day, it's still about power. Without power, existence is a sin. With me as a father, as long as Wang Shu awakens the blood talisman's spiritual body and begins cultivation of the 99 mystical talisman scripture, becoming a 4th-rank talisman master in the future shouldn't be a problem. After awakening the blood talisman's spiritual body and gaining a general understanding of it, Lu Changxing also knew that this spiritual body could allow one to make strides on the talisman path, advancing to 3rd rank and even 4th rank talisman master. With the 99 mystical talisman scripture as his talismanic legacy, as long as his daughter was willing to learn, she would surely be able to develop the blood talisman spiritual body to its utmost potential, achieving the status of a 4th rank talisman master. It's a pity this blood talisman spiritual body doesn't help with cultivation. If the blood talisman spiritual body also provided benefits for cultivation, then Wang Shu's future potential would be even higher, Lu Changxing thought to himself. His son, Lu Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution, benefited the cultivation of metal attribute techniques. Even with a 6th grade spiritual root, as long as he cultivated metal attribute techniques, his speed was not weaker than that of a top grade spiritual root. But the blood talisman spiritual body lacked such enhancement effects. Thankfully, his daughter Lu Wangsha's spiritual root was not weak either, possessing a 4th grade spiritual root. Otherwise, even with the blood talisman's spiritual body, her cultivation would be hindered by her focus on talismans. But I have the 99 mystical talisman scripture, this talismanic cultivation technique, after condensing the life-bound divine talisman. Both talisman making and casting talismans do offer cultivation benefits. In such a case, it's an indirect enhancement, Lu Changxing thought of his 99 mystical talisman scripture. As an orthodox-level cultivation technique, it was naturally profound and infinite, allowing one's cultivation level and mastery over the talisman path to complement each other and progress side by side. This blood talisman spiritual body is related to that blood pattern in the Dantian. If I could thoroughly understand this blood pattern, trace and outline it to create a talisman, could it possibly enhance others' insights into the talisman path? Lu Changxing suddenly had another thought. In the cultivation world, many formations, talismans, and even cultivation techniques are the result of studying and imitating the spiritual patterns manifested by the rules of heaven and earth. Like the blood pattern of the blood talisman's spiritual body, it is also a manifestation of the rules of heaven and earth, incredibly arcane. If he could sketch it out, it might yield some of its effects. Such spiritual patterns, manifested from the rules of heaven and earth, are not so easily comprehended and understood. If one glance could uncover their mysteries, spiritual bodies wouldn't be so rare. Lu Changxing shook his head, not dwelling on this thought any further. The blood pattern was extremely arcane. To comprehend and grasp it was as difficult as understanding the 81 spiritual patterns of the 99 mystical talisman scripture. It was not something he could grasp at his current level. Maybe after a few more steps in the talisman path, it would be worth research. Stepping out of the large vat, there was still about half a vat of spiritual blood left inside. Lu Changxing didn't waste it. Chapter 424, Effects of the Blood Talisman's Spiritual Body. 10,000 poisons devour the heart. He cast a cleansing technique to clean his body and, after dressing up, used the gourd to collect what was inside to feed the 6-winged golden silkworm. Such demon beast spiritual blood is simply not something ordinary energy refining cultivators can withstand. If it's for awakening the blood talisman's spiritual body in Wang Shu, it absolutely cannot be done like this. When the time comes to go to Zhouxiao Immortal City, we also need to see if there is any second-rank spiritual blood with a gentle nature. Lu Changxing looked at the spiritual blood gourd in his hand, murmuring inwardly. The process of awakening his spiritual body just now seemed simple. But this was because he had already achieved foundation establishment and had cultivated the 100 refinements treasure body art. If it were a regular energy refining cultivator, under the stimulation of the 3 types of spiritual blood, their meridians and dantian would probably be damaged. As for Lu Wangsha's blood talisman's spiritual body, he planned to awaken it when the child was around 10 years old. At that time, Lu Wangshu would not be able to withstand such spiritual blood for body refinement. Therefore, it was necessary to find some kind of spiritual blood with a gentle attribute, and even one that would be beneficial after absorption, to activate the spiritual body. However, with more than a decade to go, Lu Changsheng was not in a hurry. If it really couldn't be done, he would go to find the child's mother. He did not have a way to obtain it, but Xiao Xie had the channel of Qingyun sect, which would clearly make acquiring such second-rank spiritual blood much simpler. Just like the information related to the blood talisman spiritual body and the green jade Luan bird. He had consulted many references on this topic but had not found any relevant information. Yet, not long after Xiao Xie returned to Qingyun sect, she managed to find detailed information on these two items. This is the benefit of having the power of a sect. Lu Changsheng sighed. He deeply understood what it meant to enjoy the shade under a big tree. He then went over to the table, took out a talisman brush and talisman-making materials from the storage bag, and started drawing talismans. After awakening the blood talisman's spiritual body, he felt an inexplicable proficiency in drawing talismans. It was as though the moment he picked up the brush, he knew he was a natural-born talisman path prodigy. Lu Changsheng effortlessly drew 2 second-rank talismans. Drawing second-rank talismans, I can't really feel the benefits brought by the blood talisman's spiritual body. I must have a new talisman path inheritance for me to comprehend on my own, or draw third-rank talismans, before I can truly experience the effects of the blood talisman's spiritual body. Lu Changsheng put away the talisman brush. Now for him, drawing second-rank talismans was as easy as eating and drinking. Only the yet-to-be-experienced third-ranked talismans could offer him some challenge. After leaving the courtyard, Lu Changsheng went to check on his family's peace talisman hall. His son, Lu Xianji, was also there. Otherwise, he seldom visited this place before. But spending this time was worthwhile. Thanks to his early enlightenment teaching and the guidance over this year, Lu Xianji had made considerable progress in puppet mastery. He estimated that in another year or so, he would be able to create first-grade lower-quality puppets and thus qualify as a puppet master. By that time, Lu Changsheng planned to open a shop in the Red Leaf Valley Market. He would let him, along with Lu Chuanjun, Lu Rui, and his brother Lu Yun, manage the shop together. To personally get accustomed to the ins and outs of running a business. After all, in the future, when he established his own family, he would definitely engage in business. For this aspect, he certainly wouldn't have the time and energy to devote himself and would leave it to his wives and children to manage. And to entrust it to his children, it was natural to let them learn, experience, and understand as much as possible right now. This would also reveal whether the children had any talent in this area. If they did, they could develop further in this direction in the future. If not, they could be put in charge of other aspects. After all, in Lu Changsheng's vision, with so many inheritances, the family's future industry chain was also extensive. Therefore, his children could choose to develop in many different areas. Boss, all the supreme talismans in the store have been sold out. I was wondering if you could restock in these few days, as many customers have been inquiring. Gao He immediately spoke up upon seeing Lu Changsheng arriving. How come this month's supreme talismans sold out so fast? Lu Changsheng was somewhat surprised to hear this. Due to his influence, the Peace Talisman Hall was indeed doing well. The selling out of 1 second-rank Spirit Talisman and 10 Supreme Talismans each month was almost a given. It provided him with a substantial income every month. Because he often forgot about it, being away, he would store a few dozen Supreme Talismans with Gao He. He remembered that he had just restocked not long before, so how could they have sold out so quickly? It said that 2 days ago, in the Heian mountain range, a battle between 2 demons caused a mountain to collapse, resulting in a sky full of rosy light, suspected to be a relic, and attracting many cultivators to explore. That's why there have been a lot of purchases of upper-grade and supreme talismans, and a number of regular customers have also come to inquire, so I sold the previously stored stock. Gao He explained. A relic? Lu Changsheng nodded slightly upon hearing this. He understood that such occurrences would attract swarms of cultivators seeking fortune, and would boost sales of elixir medicines, talismans, and magic artifacts. Alright, I will draw some extra talismans these few days. Lu Changsheng nodded in response. Given this development, he was also willing to sell more talismans. One reason was to make money, and the other was to earn some reputation for the store. After all, at a time when other stores were out of stock, being able to restock would make customers think of his store first the next time they wanted to buy talismans. However, he had no interest in such so-called relics. He then cautioned his son Lu Xianji at the store to stay away from such relics. Absolutely not to get carried away exploring or let someone coax him into venturing into such places. Dad, there's no need for you to say more, I know. Chapter 425, Effects of the Blood Talisman's Spiritual Body, 10,000 Poisons Devour the Heart. Moreover, I'm only at the 4th level of energy refinement. Venturing into such ruins would be tantamount to courting death. Lu Xianji heard his father's words and cracked a smile. Good, as long as you know. Seeing his son was aware, Lu Chongqing also nodded in relief. After all, stories of insignificant characters in the cultivation world stumbling upon adventures and rising to prominence occurred every day. He genuinely feared that his son, in a moment of folly, or after being coaxed by some robber cultivator, would run off on some escapade. Therefore, even if he had already advised him on this matter before, he still continued with his earnest admonitions. 5 Poisons Cult. Tianzhu Peak. In an antique and luxurious room, a multicolored spring pool emitted steaming purple mist. Neatly folded by the pool were snow-white silken garments with golden trim, a bodice embroidered with a purple phoenix, plain lingerie, and jade-white stockings. There was also a terrifying blood-colored spider, its entire body emitting a sinister red light. Within the multicolored spring, there was a breathtakingly beautiful girl with an ethereal demeanor. The beautiful girl's eyes were tightly closed, with only her head and jet-black hair floating on the water's surface. Xiao Chan, come to my great hall. Just then, a voice echoed in the girl's mind. Master? Meng Xiaochan, upon hearing the voice, opened her eyes. She immediately stood up from the multicolored spring, utterly nude. In an instant, the perfection of the girl's figure was revealed without a doubt. Her slender waist seemed to ask for a gentle embrace, and her legs were straight and long. Her dark, smooth hair cascaded down, covering her pert buttocks shaped like a new moon. Her skin, still dotted with multicolored droplets, made her jade-like complexion even more sparklingly translucent and dazzling, as if her entire body was aglow. The girl floated up, her pale hand lightly lifting. The multicolored droplets slid off her skin, causing the clothes by the pool to fly up and dress her neatly. Meng Xiaochan, now clothed in purple, had an ethereal and elusive aura, just like that of a celestial fairy. This contrasted starkly with the terrifying blood-colored spider beside her. Exiting the room, Meng Xiaochan transformed into an escape light and arrived at a magnificent palace atop the peak, directly entering it. This great hall was exceedingly magnificent and splendid. The floor was paved with black jade that shone with a slick brightness, and the walls had elaborately carved beams and painted rafters. But the images all depicted snakes, spiders, butterflies, and all sorts of insects. The walls were further adorned with lamp fixtures shaped like spirit snakes, made of silver, which added a mysterious, eerie chill to the room. Bzzz bzzz bzzz. Upon seeing Meng Xiaochan approach, a purple jade spider with over a dozen pairs of eyes by the ebony bed opened its eyes. I greet you, master. Meng Xiaochan, seeing this scene, remained composed and respectfully bowed to the ebony bed. Xiaochan, you're here, a languid, seductive voice came from within the purple gauze of the bed, bewitching to the soul. May I know why master has summoned me here? Meng Xiaochan continued to speak. The purple gauze curtains slowly parted. On the ebony bed, a woman in a purple dress, around 28 or 29 years old, was lounging. Her face was stunningly beautiful and enchanting, her slender phoenix eyes appearing as though she had just woken from a dream, misty like blooming peach blossoms, her gaze fluid and compelling, with a bewitching power that could make one lose their soul. Her reclining posture revealed her alluring figure wrapped in the purple dress, accentuating an extraordinarily curvaceous body from head to toe, clear at a glance. Beneath the proud and prominent swell of her chest was a waist as delicate as a willow, leading down to her full and pert rear. The tantalizing curves were breathtaking, vaguely visible beneath the purple gauze, creating an allure of both concealment and revelation. Her two long, fair legs were slightly bent, enthralling like the tail of a serpent. Xiao Chan, I remember you used to live in Jiang country, didn't you? Nangong Mili's luscious lips parted slightly, her voice irresistibly charming. Master, I have lived in Jiang country since I was young, Lu Changsheng replied. Meng Xiaochan nodded. I have a task that requires a trip to Jiang country. In that case, you will accompany me when it is time to go. The woman in the purple dress rose from her ink jade bed with a languid elegance. A strand of black hair twirled past her ear and fell upon her ample and proud chest. The purple sheer dress fell, lightly covering her snow-white legs that resembled sculpted jade. To Jiang country? Upon hearing this, Meng Xiaochan felt a sudden pause in her heart. An involuntarily image of a man with a noble and handsome face, a tall and slender figure, swept into her mind like a willow in the breeze. That's right, you are currently at the bottleneck of the early stages of foundation establishment, so it's a good time for you to travel with me. This mission, if successful, will also be beneficial to you. It's an opportunity, Nangong Mili said softly, her voice sultry. Master, may I know what the task is? Meng Xiaochan asked. You'll know when the time comes. Nangong Mili's delicate steps moved nimbly as she came beside Meng Xiaochan, chuckling softly. Her voice was full of seductive charm. Or it could be said that her entire being exuded an enthralling seductiveness, capable of ensnaring souls and eroding bones, inciting temptation in the observer, fostering a desire to ravish her. Master, when do we leave? Meng Xiaochan asked, not pressing further. The command of a master is not to be disobeyed. Besides, Nangong Mili's personal involvement indicated that the mission was no simple affair. Moreover, considering the vast expanse of the Jiang country cultivation realm, as long as she didn't encounter him, going to Jiang country shouldn't pose a big problem. 1 month later. Nangong Mili said, her lips parting slightly as her jade-white fingers gently caressed Meng Xiaocan's face. Yes, master, Meng Xiaochan nodded in agreement. How is your progress with the myriad poisons devouring heart technique? The woman in the purple dress continued to inquire as she pinched her disciple's cheek. Please inspect it, master, Meng Xiaochan replied, offering her fair wrist for examination. Her skin was exceptionally pale, yet Nangong Mili's complexion was even whiter. It was an unhealthy shade of white that added a certain sickly enchantment to her slender yet voluptuous figure, evoking pity and tenderness. Not bad, you truly deserve your title of the 1,000 strands myriad poisons body. Now, you have reached a minor completion of the poison body. If this mission is completed to perfection, I will apply for a heart-eating goo for you at the sect, Nangong Mili said, her enchanting face showing a faint smile, looking captivating. Thank you, master. Upon hearing this, Meng Xiaocan's face instantly lit up with joy. The 1,000 strands myriad poisons body is a type of spiritual body. The 5 poisons cult, incidentally, happens to have this spiritual body legacy. With the heart-eating goo, her myriad poisons devouring heart technique could reach major success. Not only would her mana be greatly enhanced by 50%, but her chances of achieving core formation would also increase by 50%, providing her with a high likelihood of attaining true elixir. It's a pity I lost the Lockhart goo, otherwise, with it, to become the holy maiden of the 5 poisons cult, there would have been no need for all this trouble, Meng Xiaochan sighed softly to herself. She remembered the Lockhart goo that was now in Lu Changsheng's hands. This Lockhart goo was a top-level earth spirit goo, nearing the level of a heavenly spirit goo. Even within the 5 poisons cult, it was exceedingly rare. Chapter 426, Ruin's Secret Realm, 2nd Rank Monster Core. _1. Before one knew it, half a month had passed. Because of the Black Cloud Mountain Range ruins, these days Lu Changsheng, besides drawing 2nd rank talismans, had also created quite a few supreme 1st grade talismans. Not just him, Lu Miaoga had also been busy making talismans these days. After all, the Black Cloud Mountain Range was not far from the Red Leaf Valley Market. It was only a journey of 4,000 or 5,000 li. Therefore, many cultivators in the vicinity went to Black Cloud Mountain Range, hoping to try their luck. Moreover, after half a month's fermentation, the buzz about the Black Cloud Mountain ruins not only hadn't decreased in the slightest, but because of several news rumors that people had obtained ancient techniques, Foundation establishment spirit objects, and rare treasures from the ruins, the excitement intensified, attracting even more people. After all, for most cultivators, a cultivation technique or a Foundation establishment spirit object represented an incredible opportunity. They could pursue it all their lives and yet might not come across such fortune. Now that such ruins had emerged, naturally, they would not miss out. It was for this reason that the flow of people in the Red Leaf Valley Market had increased. Talismans, elixir medicines, and magic artifacts were selling like hotcakes, with prices rising by 30 to 40%, earning Lu Changxing a tidy sum. Facing this situation, the four big families also pulled staff to increase patrols and tighten security in the Red Leaf Valley Market, to prevent robber cultivators that might be attracted by the Black Cloud Mountain Range ruins from seizing the opportunity to create chaos. After all, the previous incidents of robber cultivators causing trouble had left the four big families deeply shaken. During a chat with Lu Miaoge, Lu Changxing learned that the Lu family, Bai family, Yu family, Jing family, and many other local cultivation families had sent people to explore the ruins at Black Cloud Mountain. Cultivation is like crossing a river, 1,000 horses and 1,000 troops all competing for the sale. With such an opportunity presented, if they didn't vie for it, how could they ever succeed and make progress in their cultivation? Yet, the Lu family ancestor, Lu Yuanzhong, still remained stationed in Qingzhou Mountain. He did not participate in exploring the ruins. The Yu family, Jing family, and Bai family were the same. They were only small families. With just one or two Foundation establishment ancestors as their pillar, they dared not risk venturing out for opportunities. After all, they were not individuals but support pillars of their families. If any accident occurred, the whole family would be in trouble, facing catastrophic disaster. They could only send a few energy refinement late-stage cultivators to explore. However, Lu Changxing heard that some Foundation establishment cultivators had already gone to explore the ruins. Qingyun's sect has entered the scene. A few days later, while chatting with Lu Yuanling, Lu Changxing learned that Qingyun's sect had also made a move on the Black Cloud Mountain secret realm. That's right, it has now been confirmed that this ruin is a small secret realm, filled with numerous opportunities and treasures. Qingyun's sect, of course, would not miss out, Lu Yuanling said. As the second elder of the Lu family and the person in charge of Red Leaf Valley Market, he was very focused on this kind of news. Once Qingyun's sect steps in, the whole secret realm will belong to them, Lu Changxing clicked his tongue. For Lu's cultivators and various powers, Qingyun's sect's involvement was a completely different level of challenge. The other Lu's cultivators and forces simply had no chance. Not exactly. Qingyun's sect hasn't sealed off the secret realm nor driven away Lu's cultivators and other forces. Lu Yuanling shook his head. Oh, so it seems Qingyun's sect is quite generous, Lu Changxing said, raising his eyebrows. He had assumed that Qingyun's sect would directly seal off the secret realm and forbid others from entering. After all, if Qingyun's sect did this, nobody else would have much to say, nor dare to object. Changxing, you are still too young. It's not about Qingyun's sect being generous. The hazards lurking within such a secret realm are undeniable, and Qingyun's sect naturally wouldn't want their own disciples to be the vanguard. Better to share a bit of the spoils, letting our families and loose cultivators act as the cannon fodder to explore, Lu Yuanling scoffed. At his age, and having been through much, he had a very clear understanding of these matters. Lu Changxing suddenly understood the rationale upon hearing this. It's like the Purple Shadow secret realm controlled by the Immortal sects. If they wholly relied on their own disciples for exploration, not only would the gains be limited, but they also risked losing disciples in the process. It was better to let loose cultivators and others join in. After all, any gains made inside would require sharing some of the spoils with the Immortal sects. For loose cultivators and smaller forces, facing such secret realms and miraculous opportunities, trying to profit and gain advantages is quite difficult, Lu Changxing remarked. Every time he heard about such things, he felt deeply for the struggles of the lower-level cultivators in the cultivation world. Lacking extraordinary talent, achieving success in cultivation seemed almost too difficult. One could only gamble with fate continuously. At least I have the system, Lu Changxing thought to himself. With the system, he only needed to live a settled life, get married, take concubines, have children, and he would obtain countless opportunities and treasures that others could not reach in their lifetimes, thus making his path to immortality clear and smooth. At this moment, Lu Changsheng's thoughts inevitably turned to his friend in the distant Azure Phoenix Immortal City, Li Feiyu. Although the latter had not explained in detail, he knew that Li Feiyu's path involved hunting demon beasts, exploring ruins, and venturing into predecessors' caves, a life of taking risks. Just like these loose cultivators, a moment of carelessness could lead to an accident. In Jiang country, along the Myriad Beasts mountain range. This mountain range stretched endlessly, starting in the south of Jiang country and extending across a large part of the southern wilderness cultivation realm. It also served as a natural barrier between Jiang country and Yu country. Because the Myriad Beasts mountain range was full of demon beasts and grew many rare spiritual medicine and herbs, cultivators frequently entered the range to gain experience and hunt demon beasts. After all, for cultivators, every part of a demon beast was valuable. Flesh, fur, bones, all could fetch a good price. If one could come across young beasts or rare spirit grass, it would be an even bigger windfall. At this time, on the outskirts of the Myriad Beasts mountain range, 5 cultivators were besieging 2 blue serpentine demon beasts. Chapter 427, Ruin's Secret Realm, Second Rank Monster Core. Both of these giant pythons were extremely massive. With a girth over a meter thick, their bodies radiated a powerful spiritual light, and their eyes flickered with a cold light, continuously spewing frosty air at the humans. Roar! One of the cultivators let out a fierce shout, emitting a lion-like roar that caused the attacking giant python to hesitate. Then a golden rope was thrown, binding one of the pythons, and he shouted loudly, "Old Li." Immediately, a middle-aged man around 30, tall and wearing a black outfit, his face fierce, and wielding a red long saber, burst forth with rapid steps. His muscles bulged and the red long saber in his hands surged with a reddish glow as he ferociously chopped at the 7-inch vital part of the python. Clang! The blow was like thunder, powerful and domineering, shattering the python's protective spiritual light. Then it struck the azure snake scales, producing a metallic ring, and slightly cracked the scales. Hiss hiss hiss. The giant python roared angrily, its body flaring with spiritual light, and suddenly lashed its tail, striking the man in the black outfit. Boom! The man in the black outfit, along with his saber, was sent flying backward, crashing into a large tree in the distance and toppling it over. Luckily, at the critical moment, his protective aura surged, warding off most of the damage, and he was not gravely injured. Now's the chance, kill! Seeing this, the 3 that were entangled with the other giant python also simultaneously wielded their magic artifacts, cast their techniques, and turned their attention towards the python whose protective spiritual light had been broken. Ao, under the overwhelming onslaught, the giant python threw its head back and screamed pitifully. Such roars made the other giant python nearly go mad. But these 5 people clearly had experience dealing with demon beasts. In this situation, they did not opt to keep up a frontal assault, but instead kept up the entanglement. After grinding one python to death, they only then started to confront the other python head-on and gradually killed it. This haul isn't bad, the materials from these 2 azure blood pythons can sell for quite a bit of money, said an older man with gray hair, wearing a gray robe. These 2 azure blood pythons seem to be a pair, I wonder if they laid eggs. If they did lay eggs, then we've struck it rich, remarked a middle-aged woman in a red robe. Laying eggs, what are you thinking? We can't be that lucky, a man in a blue robe said, shaking his head. Following that, the group made their way towards the cave of the two azure blood pythons. These demon beasts live in the mountains, and if they encounter treasures, remains of cultivators, bodies of other demon beasts, or even spiritual medicine and herbs, they would bring them back to their caves. Hence, sometimes after killing a demon beast, exploring its cave can yield unexpected treasures. There actually are eggs, 8 azure blood python eggs. The woman in the red robe saw something deep in the cave, her eyes lighting up as she exclaimed with surprise. What, really? These 8 azure blood python eggs could sell for 400 to 500 spirit stones. We've made a fortune with this haul. Upon hearing this, the others looked at the eggs, their eyes revealing surprise and delight. For them, 400 to 500 spirit stones split amongst them meant that each would receive roughly 100 spirit stones. A considerable profit indeed. However, the old man in the gray robe fixated on a dark gray, dull-looking core at that moment. Upon seeing the dull-colored core, his slightly murky eyes widened, and his throat felt somewhat dry. Xiao Bo, what are you looking at? The woman in the red robe noticed the old man in gray robe staring motionlessly and asked aloud. Then she followed his gaze, and suddenly her eyes landed on the dark core. This is a monster core. The woman in the red robe exclaimed. A monster core, similar to the Tao foundation of cultivators of the human race, is the core that stores mana. However, not all second-rank demon beasts possess a monster core. Only some rare or particularly powerful second-rank demon beasts have a monster core. Because a monster core signifies that the demon beast has the potential to advance to 3rd rank. If it advances to 3rd rank, the monster core will also transform into a demon core, comparable to the true elixir or golden core of nascent soul cultivators. Now, inside the lair of the azure blood python, a monster core had appeared. Although it looked like a lot of its energy had dissipated, it was still worth a fortune. The addition of 8 azure blood python eggs and a monster core suddenly made the atmosphere within the cave tense. After all, wealth stirs human hearts. The 5 of them often cooperated in hunting demon beasts but did not have much of a relationship beyond that. The appearance of such a great benefit naturally led to thoughts arising in their minds. This monster core could probably sell for 2,000 to 3,000 spirit stones. Once sold, each of us could get at least 500 to 600 spirit stones, the old man in the gray robe said to the others. Upon hearing this, the others showed expressions of delight. This amount of spirit stones was no small sum. Who should hold this monster core? The man in the green robe asked somberly. For something like the azure blood python, they could directly process the carcass as material and divide its value equally among them. The same went for the snake eggs. The extra 3 snake eggs would be converted into spirit stones. But a priceless monster core like this couldn't be dealt with in the same way. As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere in the cave tensed up again. What's going on? I feel so dizzy. At that moment, the woman in the red robe suddenly clutched her forehead and staggered. Not good, there's poison. The man in the green robe, trembling, also sensed that something was wrong. Who poisoned us? The man in black, looking ferocious, shuddered and stumbled as he barked out the question. Turning to the old man in the gray robe, the elegantly dressed middle-aged man accused coldly, Old Xiao, you're the one who poisoned us. As he spoke, he formed a spiritual energy shield around himself, attempting to block out the poison. Yao Dao friend, you actually have an anti-poison artifact. Chapter 428, Ruin's Secret Realm, 2nd Rank Monster Core. The elderly man in a gray robe looked at the refined gentleman with some surprise. His soul-severing powder was colorless and tasteless. Unless one had divine sense, ordinary cultivators couldn't detect it. So the fact that the refined gentleman hadn't been poisoned meant that he must possess some kind of poison-resistant treasure. Upon hearing this, the other 3 glared angrily at the elderly man in the gray robe. But at this moment, they could no longer speak, swaying as if about to fall, coughing up blood, and collapsing to the ground. Yao fellow Taoist, I'm afraid your treasure can't completely block my soul-severing powder. You should hurry and leave while you can, the gray-robed elder continued to speak, his voice unhurried. Very well, Yao acknowledges his defeat, said the refined gentleman upon hearing this, well aware that he was no match for the gray-robed elder. He cautiously eyed the gray-robed elder and slowly backed out of the cave. Wait a moment, just as the refined gentleman was about to leave, the gray-robed elder suddenly called out to stop him. He said, Yao fellow Daoist, take these few snake eggs with you. In return, let's consider this matter settled. How does that sound? No need, although tempted, Yao fellow Daoist didn't dare to stay longer and quickly departed. But just then, Poochie, a streak of purple light streaked out from the sleeve of the gray-robed elder. It was a thunder talisman, aimed to strike the refined gentleman. At the same time, a golden cone-shaped magic artifact was deployed, transforming into a streak of golden light aiming for the refined gentleman. How could he possibly let someone escape under such circumstances? If word got out, he might be ambushed before he could even get back to Azure Phoenix Immortal City. After all, within the Myriad Beasts mountain range, not only demon beasts were dangerous, but other cultivators also had to be guarded against. That was also why many cultivators formed teams to enter the Myriad Beasts mountain range. It wasn't just because the mountains were perilous but also because they feared being exhausted after exiting the range and then encountering robber cultivators. Boom boom boom, facing the onslaught of the gray-robed elder, the refined gentleman immediately deployed a small earthen yellow shield. However, under the bombardment of the attack, the spiritual energy shield around him swiftly dimmed, and he felt poison entering his body. Just as the elder had said, he did have a poison-resistant treasure. But it was just an ordinary item and couldn't continuously block the enemy's poison. Puck, the gray-robed elder kept attacking. The refined gentleman knew he was no match for the elder, and retreated incessantly, fleeing the cave dwelling. But the gray-robed elder pursued without delay. Just as the two had barely left the cave and the man in black who was poisoned and had fainted opened his eyes. Such a formidable poison, colorless, tasteless, without a trace, he murmured. If I hadn't cultivated the profound body refinement technique, I might have fallen here, said Li Feiyu, his expression serious. He had noticed something off about the elder immediate and sensed something was amiss. He promptly sealed his pores to stop breathing. But the poison was indeed formidable, colorless, tasteless, and left no trace. If he hadn't cultivated his body refinement technique to the 3rd level, with his flesh almost as tough as someone in the energy refinement late stage coupled with some resistance to poison, he would have been done for there. He didn't delay, he took out a detoxification pill from his storage bag, swallowed it, and began to purge the poison from his system. Then he held a talisman in his hand and continued to feign death, waiting for the gray-robed elder to return. Before long, the gray-robed elder hurried back to the cave. His breathing was slightly disordered. In order to finish off the refined gentleman quickly, he had held nothing back. After this expedition, I can stop living this blood-shedding life, the gray-robed elder muttered, holding a 2nd-rank monster core in his hand, his face showing delight. He was already over 60 and long past the possibility of foundation establishment. Now his hunting of demon beasts was for the sake of his descendants. However, at that moment, he suddenly sensed a scorching heat and a sharpness. Not good. The gray-robed elder subconsciously tried to form a spiritual energy shield. But the hastily constructed shield was immediately shattered by the fire talisman and the fierce and domineering blade aura. In the next instant, Puck, the sound of a blade piercing flesh could be heard. As the gray-robed elder's field of vision tumbled, he fell from the air and saw a headless corpse. It was his own corpse. And standing behind the body was a robust man dressed in black, holding a red long blade. How is he not dead? With shock and unwillingness, the gray-robed elder's consciousness plunged into endless darkness. Huff. After slaying the gray-robed elder with a single cut, Li Feiyu exhaled deeply. The situation had been extremely tense for him as well. After all, the elder had a 9th-level energy refinement cultivation, while he was only at the mid-stage. His only reliance was his body refinement technique, which was at the level of the late energy refinement. He quickly collected the storage bags of several people in the cave. He then used the flame bullet technique to reduce the bodies to ashes. It might be dangerous to return to Azure Phoenix Immortal City alone, he mused. This monster core might just allow me to break through the bottleneck of the energy refinement late stage, he considered. With both the cultivation from the energy refinement late stage and my body refinement technique, I stand a better chance of making it back to Azure Phoenix Immortal City safely, Li Fu speculated, his gaze intense as he looked at the gray monster core in his hand. Demon beast crystal cores were mostly violent in nature. If a cultivator absorbed it directly, not only would much of the energy be wasted, but it could also injure the body. It was nowhere as effective as refining it into elixir medicines. But given the circumstances, Li Feiyu could not afford to care about that. As for the incident at the Black Cloud Mountain Range's secret realm, other than earning a tidy sum, it hadn't affected Lu Changsheng's daily life much. He spent most of his days now on talisman making, drawing second-rank talismans in preparation for his journey to Zhoushiao Immortal City. After nearly a year, he managed to save up almost 100 second-rank spirit talismans, enough to form a talisman refinement formation capable of blasting away cultivators at the Foundation establishment late stage, or even those with a false core. But when it came to making a talisman formation, one can never have too many talismans. The more talismans there are, the greater the power of the talisman formation. Chapter 429, Ruin's Secret Realm, Second Rank Monster Core. _4. Lu Changsheng was not in a hurry to head to Zhoushiao Immortal City, so he prepared to stock up on more talismans to carry with him. Moreover, this trip to Zhoushiao Immortal City would be a long journey, and the round trip would take quite some time. He estimated that it would cost him half a year, or even a year. Therefore, he also needed to make proper arrangements for the matters afterward. He prepared in advance all the talismans supplied by his family's spiritual talisman shop and those provided to the Lu family. Just like that, 3 months passed in a blink of an eye. Boom! That day, Lu Changsheng felt a surge of qi flow into his body. He knew that his son, Lu Chuanjin, had made a breakthrough to the middle stage of qi refinement. Now each of his children was waiting for their breakthrough to the middle stage of qi refinement, then to go out and gain experience. Lu Changsheng returned to Qingzhou Mountain and made arrangements for Lu Chuanjin. This son was competitive in nature and wanted to venture out on his own. Therefore, Lu Changsheng did not arrange for him to experience life in the marketplace. Instead, he sent him to the secular world to mix with Hong Yi. Now, Hong Yi had become the crown prince of Marquis of Rui. He was in charge of all the large and small affairs of Rui Prefecture. Not only did he have to deal with the martial world in Jianghu, but also the disturbances of parasitic cultivators in the secular world. So, sending his son to the secular world not only allowed him to experience the martial world and Jianghu, secular cultivation, and broaden his horizons but also ensured he wouldn't encounter too much danger. Brother Lu, rest assured, I will take good care of Chuanjin, your esteemed nephew, Hong Yi said to Lu Changsheng as he readily agreed to take the son with him for experience. Then he turned to a 12 or 13-year-old boy dressed in an embroidered robe and with an extraordinary bearing next to him and said, Xuanji, get along well with your brother Chuanjin in the future, treat each other like brothers and support each other. This young boy was named Hong Xuanji, the sixth son of Hong Yi, with a 7th-grade spiritual root, and was deeply adored by Hong Yi. Yes, father. Hong Xuanji nodded in response to his father's words. He knew that his father's current position had a lot to do with Uncle Lu. Moreover, the present Lu Chuanjin, who was only 3 years older than him but had already reached the middle stage of qi refinement, would be a valuable association for the future. Chuanjin, you must listen to your Uncle Hong in the future. If anything happens, just write a letter back home. On ordinary days, remember to write to your mother, and when you have time, come home to visit, and also go to see your sister. On the side, Chu Zenshin's eyes were red, and she said to her son with a face full of reluctance. Even though her son was grown up, he was still a child in her eyes, and she was very worried about him going to the secular world to make his way. Mother, don't worry, I understand, Lu Chuanjun said, looking at his mother's expression with a hint of helplessness on his face. He then spoke to reassure her that he would definitely be careful, write home when he had time, bring his sister to visit, and asked his mother to be at ease. Lu Changxing watched this scene, the corner of his mouth twitching slightly. He wondered how Lu Quanzhen's character had been formed. Although he had taught his son, most of the time it was Chu Zhenjin who did the teaching. Yet Chu Zhenjin, when it came to children, though not indulgent, could hardly bear to scold or reprimand them. Sometimes, even lecturing the children would make herself feel aggrieved, feeling that it was her fault for not teaching well. So seeing that his son Lu Chuanjun had a mature and decisive character, Lu Changxing also did not know how it came to be. It could only be said that some children's temperaments might be influenced innate to some extent. Zhenjun, as long as you want, we can come and see Chuanjun often, Lu Changxing said to his wife. After settling down Lu Chuanjun, Lu Changxing also took Chu Zhenjun to stay at the Lu residence for a while. His eldest son, Lu Pingan, had experienced a year with the Crimson Whale gang before really going out on his own to wander the Jianghu, and he had not yet returned. His second son, Lu Wuyu, had gone to a county in Nanyu Prefecture to become a county magistrate, arranged by Hong Yi. His daughter, Lu Wuyo, also clamored every day about becoming a female hero and venturing into the Jianghu, but her mother Lu Zier wouldn't allow it. And Lu Changxing, fearing his daughter would be at a disadvantage, acted as if he didn't know about it and did not agree to his daughter going out to venture. Now that Lu Changxing and Chu Zhenjun had come to the Lu residence, his wife Lu Lanshu, Lu Qinger, Lu Zier, and other concubines also talked with Lu Changxing about their children's marriage affairs. Like Lu Wuyo, Lu Wuyu, and Lu Shila, these children were all 17 or 18 years old, the age for marriage, and it was time to consider matchmaking. Regarding this matter, Lu Changxing also felt quite emotional. He still vividly remembered the birth of these children. Unknowingly, they had grown up and were about to get married. In this regard, he let Lu Lanshu, Lu Qinger, Lu Zier, and others handle the arrangements. But the marriage should be agreed upon by his children. After all, given his current situation, there was no need to consider weighing benefits in his children's marriages. The main thing was to let the children be happy and like it, and choose for themselves. Chapter 430, Mount Sumra Tree King, a cave heaven unto himself. _1. Lu Changxing and Chu Zhenjun stayed in Rui Prefecture for a little over a month. During this period, the marriage of their son, Lu Wuyu, was also settled. The other party was the daughter of Li Feiyu, Li Shuer. Previously, Lu Lanshu had wanted her son, Lu Pingan, to marry Li Shuer. One reason was that Li Shuer's appearance, looks, and personality were all good. Additionally, they had watched her grow up. Furthermore, Lu Changxing and Li Feiyu were good friends, so naturally, they thought about matching the two. However, since Lu Pingan had no such intentions and had gone away, Lu Qinger then began to inquire about the relationship between her son, Lu Wuyu, and Li Shuer. Regarding this marriage arrangement, both Lu Wuyu and Li Shuer had no objections and were mutually satisfied. Seeing that both of them agreed, Lu Changxing decided on the matter. Most marriages in this world were like this. There were not so many cases of mutual affection between couples. Being mutually satisfied was already considered quite good. Immediately, the two families arranged the marriage, selected an auspicious date, and planned to hold the wedding in half a year. During the engagement, Lu Changxing also met Li Feiyu's father, Li Zhengyang. 16 years had passed, and the once valiant and imposing leader of the Crimson Whale gang had become an old man with graying hair. His face bore traces of illness. "I pay my respects to Uncle Li." Lu Changxing approached and greeted him. "I pay my respects to Immortal Master Lu." Li Zhengyang looked at the man before him, still handsome and appearing to be in his 20s, who had seemed even more otherworldly and immortal than he did more than a decade ago, and respectfully bowed. When Lu Changxing first arrived at the Crimson Whale gang, he immediately realized Lu Changxing was destined for great things. Now, more than a decade later, his hunch had been confirmed. It was evident from the respect shown to Immortal Master Lu by the Marquis of Rui, the Crown Prince of Rui, and the loose cultivators attending the engagement banquet. Fei Yu and I are good friends, and now that my son Wu Yu and Shuer are engaged to become relatives by marriage, it's a matter of close kinship, so Uncle Li need not be so courteous with me. Just call me Changsheng, Lu Changsheng said to Li Jingyang with a smile. Li Jingyang saw that Lu Changsheng had none of the airs of an immortal master and was touched in his heart. He thought to himself that his son had made a good friend. Li Jingyang then addressed Lu Changsheng as his wise nephew and introduced his eldest son, Li Feihong, who was the current leader of the Crimson Whale Gang. During their casual conversation, the matter of marriage was confirmed, and Li Jingyang also inquired about Li Feiyu's situation. When Li Feiyu had left, he had only briefly mentioned that he was heading to the cultivation world to make his own way, without saying much more. When faced with this topic, Lu Changsheng only mentioned that Li Feiyu was fine and was cultivating in an immortal city. He then presented Li Jingyang with a bottle of healing pills. He could tell that Li Jingyang must have either overexerted himself in martial training when he was young or suffered some internal injury, leading to his poor health now. This engagement banquet brought much joy to the Lu residents. After all, it was the Lu family's first engagement and wedding preparations. I wonder how Pingan is doing. It's been over a year, and he hasn't even written a letter home. Seeing that Lu Wuyu had become engaged and would be married in half a year, Lu Lanshu began to mention her son Lu Pingan. Pingan said he would be out for at most 3 years, so I estimate he will return in another year or two, Lu Changsheng voiced comfortingly. He knew that his wife was still not in agreement with Lu Pingan going away. Her mention of it now made him think of his eldest son as well. He wondered where Lu Pingan was traveling now and how his journey was going. In Jiang Country, Jiangzhou, Guangling County. That white tiger demon must be on this mountain, right? As Lu Pingan passed through a village, he heard that there was a white tiger living on the mountain that frequently attacked humans. It had scared the villagers to the point where they dared not go into the mountains to hunt anymore. So, he decided to take a look and rid the people of this threat. As he reached the middle of the mountain, he heard a deafening roar from a fierce beast. He rushed towards the sound in the mountains. In a short while, he saw a ferocious white tiger, about 3 meters tall, chasing after a girl clothed in black. But this was not a one-sided pursuit. The girl in black was a cultivator. As she ran, she controlled a pitch-black flying sword, attacking the white tiger. This caused the white tiger to be covered in blood and maddened with rage, lashing out to bite anyone it could. This white tiger must be the white tiger demon the villagers spoke of. It seems to have truly become a demon beast, exclaimed Lu Pingan upon seeing such a ferocious creature. He realized that this white tiger had evolved beyond a mere wild beast and had become a demon beast. However, the Jiuyo hound he usually fed was much more ferocious than this white tiger. Therefore, seeing this fearsome white tiger did not frighten him in the least. Be careful. At that moment, he saw the white tiger's chilling claws pin down the girl's flying sword. Then its tail suddenly lengthened, stretching out like a long stick, swinging horizontally toward the girl. Taken by surprise by this sudden strike, the girl was hit hard and sent flying backwards with a muffled groan. Seeing his chance, the white tiger opened its gaping jaws and leapt towards the girl in black. No good. Lu Pingan acted quickly, taking a fire blast talisman from his chest, focusing his energy, and turning the talisman into a blazing projectile, shooting it towards the white tiger. Bang! The fire blast hit the white tiger with precision. It plunged to the ground with a thump, letting out a mournful howl, its body scorched by the blast, its flesh torn and skin charred. Roar! With its body blackened and oozing blood, its eyes glowing red with fury, the white tiger turned its gaze on Lu Pingan and roared angrily, charging at him. Secret technique, primordial chaos extreme. Facing the pouncing white tiger, Lu Pingan immediately took out a golden light insignia, making golden light appear all around his body. Then, as he roared, the muscles of his entire body were activated with powerful energy, and he launched a fierce punch. Boom! The white tiger's attack caused Lu Pingan's legs to sink, and the golden light around his body dimmed. Chapter 431, Mount Summer Tree King, a cave heaven unto himself. But Lu Pingan's terrifyingly powerful punch also made the white tiger wail, a sound of bones shattering echoing within its body. Die. At that moment, the girl seized the opportunity, forming seals with her hands, causing her flying sword to burst forth with sharp energy, slashing toward the white tiger's neck. She aimed to decapitate the white tiger with a single sword stroke. PFF. However, the flying sword failed to sever the head, the blade stuck in the white tiger's bones, causing it to howl in pain and struggle in the throes of death. Secret technique, primordial chaos extreme. Seeing this, Lu Pingan's true chi surged within him. He took a step forward, his fists like twin dragons leaving the sea, pummeling the white tiger with relentless force. 1 punch. 2 punches. 3 punches. Boom boom boom. A moment later, the white tiger wailed, its eyes dimming. Hello, thank you for your help. My father's surname is Qin, my mother's surname is Yi, so my name is Qin Yi. The girl in black stepped forward, looked at Lu Pingan, and said with an expressionless face. Upon hearing this self-introduction, Lu Pingan grinned and replied, Hello, my dad's surname is Lu, my mom's surname is also Lu, so, my name is Lu Pingan. Pfft. The girl, previously without expression, suddenly smiled at these words. But the laughter caused the blood in her body to roll and surge, cough cough cough, spitting out fresh blood. The blow from the white tiger had been hard on her as well. Miss, are you all right? I have some medicine for healing here. Seeing this, Lu Pingan took out a porcelain bottle from his bag, poured out an elixir medicine, and handed it to the girl. You used 2 talismans to save me just now, I already owe you a favor. So I can't take this spirit pill, and I don't have money to repay you. The girl in black instantly recognized that this was not a mundane elixir medicine but a spirit pill. She thought to herself, what kind of a naive boy is this? A man without any signs of spiritual power, a martial artist, yet possessing talismans and elixir medicines. Moreover, a complete stranger, and yet he casually took them out to help. One should help out in the face of injustice, miss, you don't have to worry about it. You need not repay for the pill either. Lu Pingan grinned and waved it off with his hand. Upon hearing this, the girl in black looked at the Lu Pingan before her, her face showing a hint of conflict and distress. Then she firmly said, I, Qin Yi, do not owe anyone favors. I will accept this spirit pill. You take the white tiger, and with this, we are even. I said there's no need to repay, and besides, what would I want with the carcass of the white tiger? Lu Pingan shook his head. This white tiger demon could sell for more than 20 spirit stones, and you're saying you don't want it? Aren't you here specifically to hunt this white tiger demon? The girl asked with a somewhat astonished expression upon hearing this. No, I came to the mountain because I heard from the villagers that there was a white tiger great demon eating people. I wanted to see for myself and thought of getting rid of the white tiger, so the villagers could hunt with peace of mind, said Lu Pingan with a smile. Hearing this, the girl in black looked at the Lu Pingan before her as if she was looking at an idiot. She didn't expect that such people existed in the world. A stranger to her but willing to use expensive talismans to help, and even offering elixir medicines for free. And the reason he ventured up the mountain was because he heard about a white tiger eating people. Regardless, I, Qin Yi, do not owe people favors, and you should take this white tiger demon so that we are square, she continued to say, her face tight and devoid of expression. She had already pegged Lu Pingan as a fool from a landowner's family and did not want to take advantage of an idiot. Miss, you said this white tiger demon is worth more than 20 spirit stones. My elixir medicines and talismans are not worth this much. If you feel uneasy about it in your heart, just sell the demon and give me the equivalent in spirit stones. Seeing the girl was resolute, Lu Pingan suggested this. Having experienced life in the Crimson Whale Gang, and his interactions with Hong Yi, he had come to know some basic information about the prices in the cultivation world. He knew his 2 talismans and 1 elixir medicine were worth about 7 spirit stones. The girl felt tempted upon hearing this. She had expended a lot of time and effort trying to hunt down this white tiger demon. Moreover, she couldn't bear to hand over all the spirit stones she obtained to someone else. If they were to split the proceeds now, at least she would gain something. And she wouldn't need to feel like she owed a favor. Fine, there's a gathering spot for loose cultivators on Kanjia Mountain about 500 miles from here, she said. Come with me, and they'll sell the white tiger demon there. We can split the spirit stones. If it's inconvenient for you, just give me an address, and they'll deliver the spirit stones to you later, she offered crisply. A gathering spot for loose cultivators? All right, I'll go with you. Lu Pingan's eyes lit up at this. He had always held a deep fascination for cultivation, harboring intense interest in it. It was only because he knew he had no spiritual root and thus no opportunity for cultivation, that he never mentioned it back at home. Now, hearing the girl mention a market for loose cultivators immediately sparked his curiosity, and he wanted to see for himself. Soon after, once the girl had rested and healed her wounds, the 2 set off together. Time flew swiftly, and in the blink of an eye, half a year passed. 2 months prior, the once bustling rumors about the Black Cloud Mountain ruins had also died down. This had been only a small secret realm. And within half a year, it had been completely scavenged, left as a desolate wasteland. The Lu family's venture into this secret realm had not been fruitful, and they had suffered losses including 1 energy refinement late stage and 1 energy refinement middle stage cultivator, a not insignificant setback. However, Lu Changxing had heard from Lu Yuanding that the Bai family had quite the harvest from this expedition. It was even possible that they would witness the birth of a new foundation establishment. The Lu family was pleased to hear this. After all, the Bai family and the Lu family had a friendly relationship. Now, as the Bai family ancestors' lifespan was dwindling, with only a bit more than 10 years left, if a new foundation establishment did not emerge, they would face the same peril that the Lu family once did. Chapter 432, Mount Summer Tree King, a cave heaven unto himself. And the cooperation of the 4 major establishments in Red Leaf Valley Market will also face problems because of this. Congratulations to the host for reaching a progeny count of 150, you have been awarded an advanced level draw. On this day, Lu Changsheng's 150th child was born. This child did not have a spiritual root. But as this child was born, a system prompt sounded. Advanced draw. When Lu Changxing heard this system prompt, his heart surged with surprise. He had previously thought that he would need 200 children to qualify for the draw based on the quantity of his offspring. He did not expect that 150 would suffice. And it was an advanced draw, no less. This made him extremely pleased. After all, from a previous advanced draw, he had obtained a heaven-reaching spiritual treasure. Although this heaven-reaching spiritual treasure was somewhat lacking, without an artifact spirit, it was still a heaven-reaching spiritual treasure. It had greatly expedited his progress with the 100 treasures body refinement technique, and he estimated that in another year's time, he would be able to break through to the 5th layer. At that time, he would be able to refine this heaven-reaching spiritual treasure and transform it into his life-bound treasured bone. System, draw. Without further thought, Lu Changxing inwardly chanted. He wanted to see what he could obtain from this advanced draw. After all, ordinary draws were now hardly surprising to him. Instantly, an advanced draw wheel with only 4 options emerged. As Lu Changsheng's mental spirit slightly stirred, the draw immediately commenced. Before long, the golden light slowly diminished, eventually stopping on the spiritual pet treasure section. Another spiritual pet treasure? Lu Changsheng's heart skipped a beat as the golden light halted. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the spiritual pet, Mount Summer Tree King. The reward has been dispatched to the system space. The host can inspect it at any time. A divine tree pattern, resplendent with gold and jade, shimmering with the light of dawn, emerged from the draw wheel, accompanied by a system prompt. Spiritual pet, Mount Sumera Tree King? Lu Changxing furrowed his brows slightly when he saw the reward from his draw. He immediately realized that he must have drawn a spiritual pet related to the celestial and earthly spirit plants. I wonder if this Mount Sumera Tree King, like the 9 netherhound and 6-winged golden silkworm, requires my nurturing, he mused. If it requires my nurturing, even with a true spirit bloodline, it would be quite useless to me at the moment. Lu Changxing pondered as he looked at his draw reward. The 9 netherhound he obtained from his first draw was still a first-grade middle-stage demon beast. It was estimated that it would take another 1 or 2 years to advance to the late stage of the first grade. Even though the fighting prowess of the 9 netherhound far surpassed that of other demon beasts of the same grade, it could only serve as the guardian spiritual beast of the secular Lu residence. The 6-winged golden silkworm he drew the second time had slightly more combat power than the 9 netherhound, but there was no telling how long it would take to grow its second pair of wings. Having raised it for 8 or 9 years now, its combat power was still at the peak of the first grade. Therefore, Lu Changxing didn't harbor too many thoughts about spiritual pets. His mental spirit stirred slightly as he looked towards the Mount Sumera Tree King in the system space. Spiritual pet, Mount Sumera Tree King, grade, lower true spirit, description. In ancient times, the Lotus Lamp Buddha obtained a half-branch of the world tree and planted it on Mount Sumera, nurturing it to life. It currently possesses the strength of the 3rd rank, harbors a world within its body, forming its own cave heaven, and thrives continuously. Hiss. Lu Changxing was taken aback as he read the description of the Mount Sumera Tree King. A strength of the 3rd rank meant that this Mount Sumera Tree King did not require slow nurturing like the 9 netherhound or the 6-winged golden silkworm. It had the strength of the core formation stage right away. Not only that, this Mount Sumera Tree King also harbored a world within its body, forming its own cave heaven, thriving continuously. This ability genuinely excited Lu Changxing. In the cultivation world, there is a kind of treasure known as cave heaven treasure. Such a treasure constitutes its own space and can be fashioned into a small secret realm like cave heaven, housing cultivators and spiritual beasts. It can even nurture treasures like the spiritual eye spring to form spirit veins, allowing cultivation within, as well as the planting of spiritual medicine and spirit fields, serving as a mobile dwelling. And now, this Mount Sumera Tree King possessed such an effect, harboring a world within its body, inherently forming a cave heaven. The cave heaven inside the body of the Mount Sumera Tree King can completely serve as the core land for our future family. It's just uncertain whether this Mount Sumera Tree King can currently transform. If it can't transform, then we must find a piece of land rich in spirit veins to plant this Mount Sumera Tree King. Moreover, the strength of this Mount Sumera Tree King requires a high grade of spirit veins, at least 2nd rank, or even 3rd rank spirit vein. Lu Changxing looked at the Mount Sumera Tree King in the system space but did not extract it. Just looking at the description alone, he felt that this tree was many times larger than the luminous treasure tree he had obtained before. Once extracted, it would be revealed outright. If it couldn't transform and move, such a heavenly spirit plant, once noticed, would likely shake the entire Qingyun sect and the cultivation world of Jiang country. Moreover, the higher the grade of the demon beast, the harder it is to transform, so he felt that this Mount Sumera Tree King probably couldn't transform. It seems that securing the spirit land and establishing the family must be accelerated. Only by establishing our own family and owning our own family spirit land, can we conveniently release this Mount Sumera Tree King. And by then, having a great demon at the core formation stage in the family will allow us to develop with peace of mind. Lu Changxing took a deep breath and exhaled long. He knew that this Mount Sumera Tree King must be planted at his home and then hidden well with a formation. Otherwise, such a plant could easily attract trouble. Shiyu had sent a letter before, asking if I wanted to participate in the 100 Arts Conference, and I chose to defer. It seems that at the next 100 Arts Conference, I must enter the Qingyun sect in this way, and then see if I can obtain a top-quality spirit land through the sect. Lu Changxing murmured to himself. For acquiring the family spirit land, he still preferred to go through Qingyun sect. See if he could obtain a top-quality spirit land through the sect. If that didn't work out, then he would consider the Red Leaf Valley market. After all, with so much effort and many family powers settling in the Red Leaf Valley market now, it wouldn't be easy to secure it through the Lu family without paying a significant price. I've already stored over 200 second-rank talismans, and the spirit talismans for the Lu family and the Peace Talisman Hall are also ready. After Wyatt's wedding, I can almost set out for Zhouxiao Immortal City. In Zhouxiao Immortal City, after completing the procurement of materials for the 99 Mysterious True Strategy, 3rd rank talisman materials, and 2nd rank alchemy materials, my overall strength will also rise to another level. When I return, Sister Miaoga will also be almost ready for foundation establishment. I can also take this opportunity to state outwardly that this trip is to go to the Immortal City for foundation establishment, thus revealing my foundation establishment strength. Afterwards, through Shiyu, get the slot to participate in the 100 Arts Conference, enter Qingyun sect, and secure Spirit Land. By then, the children at home should almost be ready to manage the family affairs for their old father. Regarding the establishment of the family, we only lack an array now. If we still haven't drawn an array by then, I'll hire an array master from Qingyun sect and then study some simple formations myself. Lu Changxing was calculating his future plans in his mind. Through half a year of talisman making, he had stored over 200 second-rank spirit talismans on his person. Due to material reasons, most of these talismans were of low and middle grade, with only a small portion being superior grade talisman. But it was already sufficient. If all these talismans were to be used, Lu Changxing felt that even a false core immortal would certainly meet their death. So this trip to Zhouxiao Immortal City for a major procurement would basically be free of danger. There are still half a month until Wyatt's wedding day. I should almost head over. Lu Changxing stopped pondering and rose from his study. In the courtyard, Lu Miaoyun and her children were feeding a big bird that was pure like green jade. This bird was the green jade Luan bird that had hatched not long ago. Since it had just been born, it couldn't serve as a mount in the short term. So Lu Changxing candidly gifted it to Lu Miaoyun, to her delight, and to the envy of Chu Zhenjin, Lu Miaohuan, and the others. Yuner, since Wyatt's wedding day is approaching, call Zhenjin and Huan are over, and let's all go together, Lu Changxing said to Lu Miaoyun. After all, it was his son's first wedding. As a father, he naturally had to attend the wedding. And with Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhenjin, and Lu Miaohuan being the principal wives, he felt it was appropriate for them to be involved in such an occasion as well. Yes, husband. Hearing this, Lu Miaoyun immediately handed the bird feed to the children and went to notify Chu Zhenjin and Lu Miaohuan. The other children, upon hearing the news, all expressed keen interest and the desire to join. But Lu Changsheng's spirit boat could only carry 12 people. So he decided to take along his sons Lu Yun, Lu Huaizhen, Lu Qingshan, Lu Qingzhu, and a few others. Chapter 433, The Misty Sky Bead, The Transformation of Bai Ling. _1. Half a month later. On the day the second young master of the Lu residence got married, the whole Rui County city was bustling and sensational. With the wedding procession stretching for 10 miles, thousands of banquet tables were set up both inside and outside the city, free for all the guests to enjoy as they pleased. The month-long feast meant that for 100 miles around, there was no need for cooking fires, and even beggars became plump with satisfaction. During this time, Lu Changxing took a little more interest in the martial arts training of his children. He could understand that children of that age were playful and not diligent in their martial practice. But he was willing to spend more money to nurture those who were willing to train. On this day, as the 10th child broke through to the martial Dao innate level, a system prompt sounded in Lu Changsheng's mind. Congratulations to the host for 10 descendants breaking through to the martial Dao innate, earning the bloodline effect, a 5% increase in the probability of siring offspring and a chance for a lucky draw. Indeed, it's 10. Lu Changxing was not surprised by this system prompt. When the first 5 children broke through to the martial Dao innate, there was no system prompt for a lucky draw. He had guessed that perhaps it would take 10 children breaking through to the martial Dao innate to trigger the achievement reward. After all, although the martial Tao innate was harder to reach than Qi infusion, it was not limited by the spiritual route. As long as one was willing to spend money, practically anyone could break through to the martial Tao innate. So, it made sense that the requirements were slightly higher than for Qi infusion. System, draw the prize. Lu Changxing didn't think too much, silently mouthing in his mind. The light red roulette wheel emerged in a glimmer of golden light, spinning immediately, and finally landing on the treasure. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the rare treasure, Misty Sky Bead. The reward has been sent to system space. The host may check it at any time. A pattern of a bead shrouded in gray mist emerged, accompanied by the system prompt sound. A rare treasure, the Misty Sky Bead? Lu Changsheng's eyebrows rose at the sight of this reward. He was quite fond of rare treasures. After all, the rare treasures, Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates and Profound Origin bead he got from previous lucky draws were very impressive. The Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates might have been gathering dust. But it had given him the confidence to curse a nascent soul immortal to death. As for the Profound Origin bead, it hardly needed mentioning. For Lu Changxing, it was simply a priceless treasure. It not only boosted his combat power by a level but also made his talisman making much more convenient on a daily basis. Lu Changsheng's mind stirred slightly as he looked into the system space to check the effects of this rare treasure Misty Sky Bead. Misty Sky Bead, grade, 3rd rank, description. Crafted from a millennium-old illusionary demon's pearl, possesses the Misty Sky illusion ability. It can change one's appearance and conceal one's magic aura at will. It can also fully disguise one's identity, even deceiving spiritual contracts. Can change appearance at will, hide one's magic aura, fully disguise one's identity, deceive spiritual contracts. Seeing the description of this Misty Sky Bead, Lu Changsheng's eyebrows rose, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. He had the habit of disguising himself whenever he went out. His current tool for disguising was a high-quality mask, a magic artifact acquired from a robber cultivator. This mask was but a high-grade magic artifact, so naturally, it was nothing special. If a Foundation establishment cultivator inspected it with the spiritual eye technique, they might be able to see through his real appearance. As for concealing his cultivation level and magic aura, he had been relying on a jade pendant given to him by a nascent soul female cultivator when he arrived. This jade pendant should be a rare treasure. After reaching Foundation establishment, he had examined the jade pendant. He knew that not only could it conceal his aura, but it also had certain effects in obstructing divine sense. Now that I have this Misty Sky Bead, disguising myself has become much more secure and convenient. Lu Changxing looked at the Misty Sky Bead inside the system space, his mental spirit stirred, and he extracted it. Immediately, a bead the size of an egg, shaded in gray with a mist enshrouded around it, appeared before him. Simultaneously, a detailed explanation of the effects of the Misty Sky Bead emerged. It can change appearances and conceal aura, making it difficult for ordinary nascent soul cultivators to see through it. Moreover, it can consume divine sense and mana to disguise as another person, making one's appearance, temperament, and magic aura similar to the other party. Additionally, the Misty Sky Bead can absorb the essence, blood and soul of others or demon beasts, thereby completely disguising oneself as another person or a demon beast. This type of disguise possesses the true ability to bewilder. Not only the face and appearance are the same, but also the temperament and magic aura, including the bloodline and soul aura, deceiving first and second rank spiritual contracts. Upon learning of the effects of the Misty Sky Bead, Lu Changsheng's eyes showed a trace of delight. The abilities of the Misty Sky Bead were completely beyond his expectations. Not only did it allow one to change appearance and aura so that ordinary nascent soul cultivators would have a hard time seeing through it, but it also provided a remarkably astonishing disguise effect. So comprehensive a disguise that it could even deceive a spiritual contract. It was known that in the cultivation world, when cultivators conduct transactions, the most commonly used method is spiritual contracts. When Lu Changxing first arrived at the Lu family, he had also signed a spiritual contract with them. But this misty sky bead could even deceive spiritual contracts. Using a disguised identity to sign a spiritual contract, one could later break the contract without worrying about the cost of breaching the agreement. Doesn't this mean that as long as one understands a person through soul-searching techniques, and then slays them, followed by using the misty sky bead to absorb their essence, blood and soul, one would be able to thoroughly disguise oneself as that person, making it hard for even those close to them to notice any difference? Lu Changxing suddenly felt a chill about the capabilities of the misty sky bead. According to the introduction, such a level of disguise could be considered perfect. Not only could it deceive spiritual contracts, but many techniques that sense bloodlines would also struggle to unearth any loopholes, real or fake. Of course, this kind of disguise was not without its flaws. The process of disguise consumed both mana and divine sense. Therefore, it was not possible to maintain the disguise all year round. And during the disguise, one could not use full power. Once one exerted full power, the disguise's magic aura would be difficult to maintain, and flaws would be exposed. He knew that his father seldom traveled far. Apart from occasional trips to Rui Prefecture, he was usually either at Qingzhou Mountain or at the Red Leaf Valley Market. About a year, Lu Changxing responded directly, without hiding anything. He patted his son's shoulder and continued, "That's why you need to be careful with everything in the coming time. Later, when Rui breaks through to the middle stage of qi refinement, she will come over too. You don't need an entire shop for your puppetry at this stage, so when the time comes, you can share half with Rui and let her bring some talismans from the Lu family to sell and learn to manage these affairs." Lu Changxing instructed. His third child with a spiritual root, Lu Rui, was currently at the bottleneck of the third level of qi refinement. It was estimated that in a few months, or half a year, she might break through to the fourth level. By then, in his absence, Lu Miaoge would bring her over and entrust her to Lu Xianji. This trip out should be similar to the previous one with Xiao Xia, with something that needed to be done. She reassured Lu Changxing that when Lu Rui broke through to the energy refinement middle stage, she would take her in and settle things. She would take care of the Peace Talisman Hall and the children. "Sister Miaoge, you've worked hard." Lu Changxing held Lu Maiage's silky shoulders, speaking softly. He then asked about Lu Maiage's cultivation level and how long it would take for her to reach energy refinement perfection. "In about 2 years, my cultivation level should reach energy refinement perfection," Lu Miaoge replied softly, her lips slightly pursed. Energy refinement perfection meant that one could start preparing for foundation establishment. But under the current circumstances of the Lu family, acquiring a foundation establishment elixir was very difficult. The only way was to bid for one at Immortal City. But the foundation establishment elixirs that surfaced in Immortal City were also very rare. The price every time it was auctioned was extremely high. Moreover, Immortal City was far away, and if the family's ancestor left to bid for a foundation establishment elixir, it would leave the family in a precarious position during that period. "Sister Miaoge, you keep cultivating diligently, and when I return, they'll give you a surprise," Lu Changxing said with a smile, caressing her. He planned to reveal his foundation establishment strength upon his return from Immortal City. At the same time, he would give the foundation establishment elixir and foundation establishment spiritual objects to Lu Miaoge to help her establish her foundation. A surprise? What surprise? Lu Miaoge asked, her beautiful eyes looking at Lu Changxing. She knew the surprise Lu Changxing mentioned wouldn't be simple. She couldn't help but guess at several possible surprises in her heart. "When the time comes, you'll know," Lu Changxing didn't reveal the surprise but rather kept them guessing. The next day, Lu Changxing handed the talismans he had prepared in advance to Lu Miaoge. Although he relatively trusted Gao He, he still felt uneasy about handing over so many talismans to Gao He at once. "Changxing, you must be careful on the road," seeing so many talismans, Lu Miaoga knew that Lu Changxing had been preparing for this trip for quite some time. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to draw so many talismans in such a short period. If she knew that Lu Changxing had also drawn over 200 second-rank talismans at the same time, she would probably be too shocked to speak. "Don't worry, Sister Miaoga," Lu Changxing said with a smile, planting a kiss on Lu Miaoga's fair and delicate face, then waved his hand casually. He did not set out directly after leaving the Red Leaf Valley Market. He still hadn't said his goodbyes at Qingzhou Mountain. Back at Qingzhou Mountain, he informed his wife, Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhenzhen, and Lu Miaohuan about his departure. It portrayed an alluring yet forbidden temptation. Adding to that, Bai Ling's naturally timid and well-behaved demeanor made one want to tease her even more. "Good girl, linger," Lu Changxing had watched the little girl grow up and, out of habit, fondly rubbed her small head. Over the years, he had clearly seen Bai Ling become more and more charming and enchanting. This allure was, seemingly, innate to her. And as she grew older, the white scales on her body continued to grow as well. Her tender white arms, slender neck, flat abdomen, smooth back, and well-shaped straight legs were all covered with a dense layer of white snake scales. To this day, Lu Changxing still hadn't figured out what was the deal with Bai Ling's snake scales. But these scales, much like Bai Ling's pure allure, blended perfectly with her fair and delicate skin, not looking out of place at all, as if she was wearing a form-fitting scale armor dress, an exotic charm of its own. It led Lu Changxing to speculate whether Bai Ling had demon race bloodlines. As far as he knew, some people with demon race bloodlines in their ancestry would occasionally have a slim chance of their bloodlines reverting. If bloodline reversion occurred, signs of demonic traits would appear. So on this trip to Zhoushiao Immortal City, Lu Changxing also wanted to see if he could find any related information. After all, the Grand Immortal City is bound to have a broader range of material and information than a small marketplace. Chapter 436. After leaving Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Changxing transformed into a robust, valiant-looking middle-aged man and flew towards the Nine Dragons Market on a spirit boat. This trip was indeed heading towards Zhoushiao Immortal City. But he also took the opportunity to pay a visit to the Nine Dragons Market along the way. To see if White Jade Tower had any decent maids. And to buy and handle some materials as well. The various items he had acquired from Meng Yibai and two robber cultivators at the Foundation establishment stage had yet to be dealt with. He had decided to take care of them now. 2 days later, a spirit boat descended outside of the Nine Dragons Market. Lu Changxing, seeing the Nine Dragons Market standing tall and straight with 9 peaks piercing through the clouds, felt a sense of returning to a familiar place. When the great battle between the Lu and Qin families erupted, he left Nine Dragons Market. Apart from returning once to retrieve the maids, he hadn't visited since. Following the crowd, he queued up and, after handing over a spirit stone, he got a temporary identity card and entered the marketplace, heading straight for White Jade Tower. "What would you like to know, sir? Whether to take a wife or a concubine, or to purchase a maid?" A red-dressed woman greeted him with a beaming smile as soon as he entered, giving Lu Changxing a nostalgic feeling. He hadn't been to White Jade Tower for 10 years. "Is Feng Jianyang, the manager, available?" Lu Changxing then asked, recalling that utterly charming manager. "Sir, Manager Feng was reassigned and left 7 years ago. Now the establishment is under the management of Manager Xia," the receptionist replied respectfully. "Oh, reassigned," Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows upon hearing this. He didn't expect that Manager Feng was no longer here. But it didn't bother him much. Organizations like White Jade Tower operated branches in many places, so reassignments and promotions were quite common. Shortly thereafter, under the reception of the red-dressed woman, he went to the second floor to meet Manager Xia of the White Jade Tower. This Manager Xia was of superior beauty and form, and her pleasant demeanor made others feel at ease. One could only say that White Jade Tower truly excelled in their services. Does your establishment have any middle grade or higher grade spiritual root maids available? Lu Changxing picked up the tea, took a light sip, and stated his needs. Middle grade or higher grade spiritual root maids? Manager Xia showed a hint of surprise in her beautiful eyes upon hearing this. Realizing she had encountered a major client. With a dignified face and graceful posture, her voice soft and melodious, she said, Mr. Han, both middle grade and higher grade spiritual root maids are quite rare in our White Jade Tower. Third-rank heavenly and earthly treasures mostly belong to the category of strategic resources, only available in places like Immortal cities. In Nine Dragons Market, selling such high-level treasures not only proves challenging but can also attract trouble. Lu Changxing exhaled lightly. He had already speculated about this and was not disappointed. After purchasing the talisman-making and alchemy materials, he sold those materials he himself did not need. As for the ordinary magic artifacts, he didn't sell them, since with so many children, he would eventually need the artifacts. Selling these miscellaneous materials fetched him nearly 10,000 spirit stones. Just as Lu Changxing was finishing his business and preparing to leave, he sensed a covert divine sense stealthily scanning him. Foundation establishment early stage? He immediately felt his sea of consciousness being pierced, his face paled, his brain spun in dizziness. He raised his hand to his forehead, and let out a muffled groan. Bad news. A divine sense attack. This person is a Foundation Establishment cultivator. A Foundation Establishment late-stage great cultivator. The manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion barely freed himself from the divine sense attack, his heart filled with shock and terror. He had never expected his greed for killing and looting to be exactly what the other party was angling for. His whole body surged with spiritual light as he hurriedly shouted, "Fellow Taoist, it's a Ms." But before he could finish, several sharp and domineering beams of the seven luminaries sword cut through the air, shooting towards him simultaneously. Pu. The beams from the seven luminaries sword penetrated the protective spiritual light around the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion. Then they pierced through his forehead, leaving a bloody hole. A Foundation Establishment great cultivator thus fell. This divine sense attack technique is really useful. When it's unexpected, it leaves one with no chance to defend. Lu Changxing looked at the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion whom he had just instantly killed and mused to himself. Immediately, he raised his palm and the misty sky bead appeared inside his body. Go! The gray mist from within the misty sky bead stirred, like a great gray snake, sweeping towards the corpse of the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion. In a short while, the body was drained of flesh and blood under the gray mist, turning into a pile of dry bones. It looked so much like a technique from the demon path. Lu Changxing looked at the skeleton that remained after the misty sky bead had devoured the body and couldn't help but comment. He then gestured with his hand to withdraw the misty sky bead back into his body. The next moment, his entire body fluctuated. His face, physique, temperament, magic aura, all became identical to that of the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion. So this is the perfect disguise of the misty sky bead. Although the flesh, soul core, and cultivated techniques remain unchanged, the effect and appearance presented are as if I'm a completely different person. Lu Changxing quietly experienced this new state. The misty sky bead inside him seemed to be imprisoning the flesh and soul of the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion, thus making his appearance identical to his. If I now return to Nine Dragons Market, wouldn't I be able to use this identity to glean a fortune from Myriad Treasures Pavilion? Lu Changxing stroked his chin, contemplating. He may have understood the best use for this treasure. That is, to become a thief. Even nascent soul immortals would typically not realize the effects of the misty sky bead. Chapter 438, Instant Kill Foundation Establishment, the best use of the misty sky bead. Xiao Xie was serving as the record chief in this marketplace. The two hadn't seen each other for so long, and now that he was going out, Lu Changxing naturally took the chance to visit Xiao Xie. He took a sensing talisman out of his storage magic artifact. Before long, an escape light flew out of the core area of Green River Marketplace, landing outside the marketplace. Her face was cold and remote, her skin surpassing the whiteness of snow, clad in a moon-white dress, her figure graceful, her temperament holy and pure, as if a fairy from the Moon Palace had descended upon the mortal world. Shiyu Fairy. Xiao Martial Uncle. Shiyu Martial Uncle. The Qingyun sect disciples guarding the entrance to the marketplace bowed and saluted upon seeing this fairy-like figure. They weren't aware of what significant business had brought the esteemed record chief here. And the originally somewhat noisy and bustling area outside the marketplace quieted down as everyone saw this stunning figure. On one hand, they were captivated by her remote and absolute beauty, her nobility, and the sanctity of her fairy-like appearance. On the other hand, they were overawed by her aura as a Foundation establishment great cultivator. Shiyu. Lu Changxing gazed toward Xiao Xie, who stood calmly with an ethereal and delicate bearing, and communicated with her through divine sense. Now he was masked by the misty sky bead, which concealed his appearance, temperament, and magic aura. Even Xiao Xie could not recognize him at a glance. Changxing. Xiao Xie, hearing the divine sense communication and showing a rare emotional response on her cold and proud face, immediately noticed Lu Changxing not far away. Surprise and bewilderment filled her eyes. Had it not been for Lu Changxing's divine sense message, she wouldn't have recognized that it was him. It's me. Lu Changxing nodded. Xiao Xie didn't ask further. She instructed a Qingyun sect disciple to directly handle an identity plaque for Lu Changxing and then let him into the marketplace. SSS. Who is this person that Shiyu Martial Uncle personally welcomed? Could it be an elder from the sect? But from what I see of his cultivation aura, he seems to be at the energy refinement late stage. Energy refinement late stage? How could that lead to Shiyu Fairy personally receiving him? He must have concealed his true cultivation strength. Right, I've heard that some big shots like to disguise their cultivation to fish for information. Witnessing this scene, the surrounding people sighed and murmured amongst themselves. Xiao Xie had a reputation for being cold and aloof as record chief in Green River Marketplace. Aside from the false core Immortal who presided over the marketplace, she showed no favor to anyone. Lu Changxing, embracing Xiao Xie's graceful and curvaceous fairy-like body, inhaled the heart-pleasing fragrance from her hair and continued slowly. Such a talisman-nurturing secret technique exists? Xiao Xie snuggled in Lu Changxing's arms, saying in surprise. She had never heard of this before. Yes, after I draw the talismans, I will teach you this talisman-nurturing method so you can nurture spirit talismans regularly, Lu Changxing said with a light chuckle. This kind of spirit talisman nurturing could only be done for 2 or 3 at a time. If too many were nurtured, it would affect one's own cultivation. Therefore, he didn't mind teaching this secret method to Xiao Xie, giving her a few talismans to nurture herself for protection. Then, thank you very much, Lu Lang, Xiao Xie said with a beaming smile. She knew Lu Changxing's personality. If he said he would give something, he didn't like others to refuse. Besides, she wouldn't decline Lu Changxing's kindness. Shiyu, Lu Changxing said, looking at the beauty in his arms. He thought of Xiao Xie's proud and untouchable demeanor when she stepped out of the marketplace earlier, like the noble fairy from the Moon Palace, and felt a surge of heat in his heart. Xiao Xie lifted her head slightly. The next moment, Lu Changxing captured her rosy and luscious lips, full of juicy temptation. The familiar pressure and plunder overwhelmed her, causing Xiao Xie to soften in his arms, her heart to tremble, and a sultry moan escaped her nostrils. After a long while, Lu Changxing released Xiao Xie, whose face was flushed like the rosy clouds and whose body was warm and moist, leaving her gasping for breath. He chuckled and said, "The taste of Shiyu is still so sweet and rich." Xiao Xie's clear eyes were slightly dazed. She placed her hands on Lu Changsheng's shoulders and offered her lips again, expressing her longing.